Episode 207 question mark?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yes,
right.
yes.
My voice is slightly shot and you're probably hearing it and you're going to hear me clear my throat. You'll probably want to clear your throat. I'm not sick. This is called Hangover Monday following MVP Open. And by hangover, I don't mean alcohol was a part of my late night partying, but all the festivities and the screaming and the cheering and the epic things that went down at MVP Open. I followed it up by going to a Switchfoot concert last night, Josh, with you. Like immediately following James jumping in the pond. Sorry, spoiler. I won't say which James right now. If you want to shut it off, you can. But jumping in the pond, we ran and caught a concert. Loud and screaming and awesome time as well. I'm exhausted. Here we are. Right now, it's just me and Josh. Right this moment. How are you doing, Josh?
Good. It's like the festivities from the weekend burned everyone else out. That's it. Everybody's toast. We're the ones left. No, but obviously we talk disc golf year round, but for this show, Maple Hill has a special place, obviously proximity to us being in the Northeast. And so we're probably biased, but man, like I think there are other people in other parts of the country who also feel like it's one of the best. And yeah, Matt, we were able to take it in. A lot of friends, seeing different fans, spending time at some of the tailgating area, cooking up some good barbecue.
Shout out BBQ it guy, Craig, you're out there. I spent the full 4 or 5 days we were smoking meat together. He taught me everything I know. Like and subscribe. BBQ it. Awesome. Good time out there. I'm sure he'll comment here in a minute. If not, anyways, go check it out. It tells you how to make great food. Speaking of, also saw our friends Disc Golf 978, Scott and Melissa. They were just casually taking it in, as I feel like they should. They weren't vending this event, and frankly, they don't need to. They already get all the love from the area. They got to take it in. They caddied for Paul Kranz. Unfortunately, Paul dropped out after round 2, I think. But they were there. We were hanging out. Scott and Melissa. I don't want to scare people away, but their apparel side is killing it. I think they're slammed and they're pumping it out. Everyone's using them. And I think you'd be dumb not to. Right now, you're going to get the best service, the best quality. Reach out for first available apparel, but also if you go to DG978, let me see what happens here. When I go DG978 live, I'm not going to pull it up on screen because my ads, no kidding. It pops up right here. You can get any long sleeve hoodie. That's sweet. They sell Friction Labs finger tape. They've got towels. They've got, of course, all the discs. I'm trying to see here if there's anything cool. Like if I go to specialty dyed discs, what pops up? Just, wow. Oh, wow. I can't even pick one to put up. They've got all the special dyes. If you want a custom disc, check them out. They're supporting those who dye, and then they're selling them. Anyways, you can get all your disc golf needs through Disc Golf 978. They're going to have the lowest prices. They're free shipping over $25. Now it really sounds like an ad, Josh.
Well, here's the thing, right? Everybody knows it is an ad. It's obviously a business placement, but to emphasize what you said, at the end of the day, right, everybody's exchanging money for discs, et cetera, but we all know underlying that, it's about the community and the people. And like you said, they are great. And so if you want to support a business, where you can trust the people behind it and know that they're out there in the community supporting players, supporting professionals, supporting all the amateurs in the local scene. Yeah, definitely go check it out. It was fun seeing them out there as well. Like you said, they were helping set stuff up in one of the areas, one of the mornings. Just kind of great being there and support. Yeah, Disc Golf 978.
So while I'm sitting here and you're talking, I want to see if I can just pop up. There we go, live for everybody. This that you're seeing on screen, and if you're not watching live or listening live, OBS says it's disconnecting and reconnecting, so we might have had a glitch there. But I think we're probably good now. We should at least be recording. Let me just double check. Okay, we got a lot of stuff going on. But this is at every single tournament. So if you're local, it's a big benefit to you. If you're not local, just know that they're worth supporting because they're supporting the local community. All right, let's see. Some people said we're back. Yeah,
I know
live
we're
again.
I know we're live and running now. There may have been a hiccup there, but we're good.
Sounded like it was a hiccup. It went bing, 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 bing. We're back. So we're going to keep going here. So anyway, shout out to Disc Golf 978. All right. Give them the top of the show. They're worth it. Okay. Well,
Hey,
people are wondering,
go ahead.
Where's Nick? Where's Ben? And we kind of joked that we've made it this far. And where's Evan?
Go ahead.
We're going to have a full show. Ben said literally 2 minutes before we go live, I'm going to be a little late.
I think Gannon probably has kidnapped Ben Kenny. Like, that may be my hypothesis. Either that or Gannon has not, and Ben is hitching a ride secretly in his trunk and is trying to figure out how to connect to us live. We'll see what happens.
Okay. I don't know where Ben Kenny is. That's always a fun hashtag. Where's Ben? I drove Gannon to the airport this morning, and as far as I know,
there as far as you know,
Ben was not in the suitcase. It was a little heavy when I pulled the suitcase out. But no, he should have not been with Gannon. So who knows? There's a lot still going on.
But Ben's certainly living his best life. I'm going to say hanging around with, because that's probably what it is. But he's helping, he's supporting, camaraderie, all that with so many pros this weekend, which is awesome. And then to my surprise, I saw Nick on Friday. Yeah, I saw Nick on Friday. But he's back in Florida, and he should be joining us any minute as well. We'll let him give the down low, but I think Olympus has fared fairly well, given the hurricane, which probably gives us a minute just to acknowledge, for many of us in the country, you're totally separated from all that hurricane damage up there. I think multiple places, but North Carolina, Western North Carolina, all throughout that region, up and down. Our thoughts certainly go out with people there. I think what we're hearing is it's catastrophic, and there's still lots we don't know even about the extent of the damage. And so that goes beyond the sport of disc golf, obviously. We get to talk about this hobby, and this is a living for many, and disc golf's important, but there are more important things such as, people's life, property, and there's a lot going on there. More specific to the disc golf community, I'm sure there are disc golf courses that are completely, wiped out or damaged. Again, not as important as somebody's, place of living, but pretty big deal, substantial deal. So pay attention. I'm sure throughout social media and other places, you're going to find opportunities to support people who need it. Try to stay connected to organizations that can provide direct support. I even know the Masters Tour, I think, had to quickly on the spot entirely reschedule their championship event.
Was is it North Cove? Yeah, I think of North Cove.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know the extent of the damage, but it's just obviously it's pretty drastic in a lot of places.
And not trying to tie it all to disc golf, of course, because it is a way bigger deal than disc golf. But I heard even Winthrop, the holes near the pond or the lake are underwater. So they were posting stories, and maybe you're referring to it on social media today, but even holes 1, 3, 5, 6, 17, and 18. So picture some of those that the lake is just
right all around it completely. And then they had to there were trees down near some holes, but they're doing all the work needed. I'm confident by the time, not this weekend, but the next weekend rolls around, it'll be in great shape. But yeah, again, maybe selfish thinking about our sport of disc golf, but in that context, thankfully it wasn't worse. Obviously, one of our premier major events coming up, and they have had hurricane issues in the past.
It's hurricane season, and the industry that I work in is very familiar with that. When the storms come in, our crews go out, and we have 100+ guys from our company that's down there doing storm restoration work. And the hard part is before you can even start restoring, power and electricity is just even getting there and getting people to a stable situation. Unfortunately, I've been a part of a few hurricanes that have come in, and I can just, in this moment, say the devastation is unlike you can almost fathom without being there. It's surreal. And you'd say this is in the United States. It just feels crazy. So Our thoughts, our prayers literally have been going out, and I know they're not listening right now, a lot of them, because the internet is not restored at this point, is my understanding. But as a community, we should rally around that. So moving on from that, and if there are people who are still somehow, some way hooked to a battery and they're listening to us, hopefully you can take your mind off a little bit here and talk disc golf. I see that in the chat, somebody mentioning maybe that would help. So let's continue on. Where's Evan? Well, Evan is not here as well either tonight, so he's not bringing us the stats per usual, but we're going to bring you our takes. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Before we get Missy Gannon on in about 8 minutes, we're going to talk to her. She won over a very strong field, and this is her, I think it was her fifth, and I think it's on screen right now, actually, her fifth PDGA victory this year. She had U.S. Women's. She had DDO. That women's in Texas. We're late in the season now, but DDO, she kind of sprinkled them here. Preserve, the European Disc Golf Festival, and then most recently, this MVP Open. Josh, what do you think about her victory there? And maybe you could just give us who finished out, maybe the top 5 or so, just to give us an idea.
Finished top 5 at this particular event?
Yeah. Yep. For FPO.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, so congrats for Missy having an incredible season. It even made me for a moment go and look and say, where's she kind of stacking for the whole year? And the answer is Kristen is still on top. But, I mean, Missy, I just kind of, maybe I'm going to out myself in this, but I've always believed Missy's great. She's obviously proven it. She has the nickname Big Money Missy, and has won plenty of events in her career, but for some reason, I'm always just like, when is she going to really kind of put it all together, which is not fair because I'm comparing it to like a dominant, like Kristen Tatar type year, or maybe even like a historical Paige Pierce year. But I think it's time for me to kind of maybe, again, I'm just kind of outing myself, but acknowledge like Missy is great. And I mean, she, because of this event, she came out on top of the tour points. We'll talk about tour points a little bit later, I think. But Missy's a really good disc golfer and consistent, and maybe hasn't had quite the full on dominant year, but like 5 wins, like, come on, and a major. I mean, it's really, really incredible. So I want to be clear and say that congrats to her. Down the leaderboard. Look, we're going to talk more about Maple Hill, so we're kind of skirting the surface here, but it was really close with Kristen Tatar down to the last hole. Second place, has not won at Maple Hill before. And then Owen Scoggins, only a stroke off second. Incredible year. And then Paige Pierce, who, I mean, is a name we all know and is a great, but we have not seen her really in the top 5 much this year. She has had some, but a little inconsistent up and downs. And I know a place that she feels super comfortable at and plays great at, coming in 4th and then 5th with Ella Hansen in FPO. So I think we'll probably talk a little bit later about all things Maple Hill and MVP Open. I'm sure we'll kind of debrief more about how we think it's one of the best regardless, but this weekend I think proved one of the best events in both fields and in
Nick
FPO.
Joined
coming
us.
down to the last one.
I'm cutting Josh off because Nick, you sent us a text earlier. What did you say? Something about MVP. I would say it.
I think I said my phone's actually, I got to grab it in a second, but I think I said MVP is the best event all year. Changed my mind.
Okay.
And it was more so in a funny way. Like, yes, by far best spectating event. I've loved it as a player. I've loved it as a spectator, as a caddy, whatever. It's just, it gets better and better every single year. Obviously, the World Championships changes every single year. I know that that's like the big tournament, but when it comes to all around, just incredible experience, MVP Open, I think personally has it by far. By far, almost.
We should talk more about it here, but we're going to get to Missy in about 4 minutes. James Proctor moving over to MPO. Holy cow. Yes, it was James Proctor. That's who I was talking about earlier. I said James earlier, and I left it at that. I said no spoilers right off the rip of the show, but James Proctor. And the way it went down, if you didn't watch it live, was just in dramatic fashion because Paul Macbeth laid down a scorcher of a final round. Now, Scorch probably would have been 2 more down than that, 13 down, but he played the hot round. I'll put it that way, the hot round, to make it to the place where James Proctor throws OB approaching hole 18, and hole 18, and what that did was force James to have to hit the drop zone putt, which he's only one of like 2 other people who did it the whole weekend. I'd have to go back
Which
and
is
look
weird
at that
because he did
stat.
it 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
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 And
So yesterday, or the first time he did it, he was the only one to hit it all that whole day.
yeah,
Wow.
and I almost watched
That's
every
actually
single
really
one.
surprising.
Yeah, incredible. I saw splash outs, band hits, all that stuff. But yeah, he did it. And then he steps up. We're getting ready to celebrate with the confetti cannons. And we see an OB shot. And we're like, that was James. So then he steps up to the drop zone. Everyone's silent, right? Perfectly respectful. Everybody's there. Whole 8, everybody's there. And he puts it in. Dramatic, epic. Paul Macbeth about 20 feet behind me. I kept peeking over my shoulder as the disc went out of bounds. Paul's thinking to himself, we're going to a playoff. And I can't imagine hyping yourself. He's probably used to it. He's done it before. He's done it in the World Championships. This would have been a big one. It would have been his first of the year at Maple Hill, one of the courses that he's known for because he's laid down the hottest round. I still would argue possibly the best round of all time. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. It's in the debate at least. And he came out and just about pushed a playoff. He did all that he could. He thought he was going to a playoff, and then that happened. These things happen to Paul. I mean,
dude, I was going to say, like, hole 18 and Paul Macbeth don't always get along. James Conrad throws in the best shot in all of disc golf, and then apparently Paul can't be competing against people named James for the win because he's 0 for 2, I think, at this point. And
you know what?
It was absolutely insane. And so I was watching it live, and Paul's round had finished up. And funny enough, Paul, because I caddied for him the first 2 days, he stayed at my parents' house, and then I flew back down to Florida. And he said after day 3, he was like, I need to put up a 14 down tomorrow, and that'll win the event. And I was like, okay, well, he was playing great on the back 9, so I was like, go clean on the back 9 and get some better strokes on the front 9, and I think he'll be great. And then literally he missed a circle 1 putt on hole 2 from, I think, about 28 feet. And then he missed hole 8. Now, I don't know how he threw it. I think he said, what did he go? OB obviously off the drive and then just missed the drop zone putt. But those are the 3 strokes that he had said he wanted to win the tournament. And it turns out that just one of those or 2 of those from hole 8 would have sealed the deal.
He could have parred hole 8, and I hate retrospective, but he could have parred and would have pushed a playoff there at the end. But long story
it's
short,
like hindsight 2020. Like, yeah.
Long story short, how many people? And I talked to a lot of people because we were actually there. So many people. Now there's a group that wanted James to just outright win it. You can't deny that. He has this groupie group there, and a lot of people there probably wanted it. But a lot of people wanted that playoff. They wanted to see Paul Macbeth at Maple Hill in a playoff, just epic fashion going to it. Now, this isn't fair. It is not fair to ask this, but is slightly fun. Who wins if it goes Paul Macbeth and James Proctor? Do you have a feeling like we're going 1 to 18 aggregate? You play 2 holes. What's going to go down? I don't know. I know some people are feeling advantage Paul when you go hole 1 and hole 18 with Paul Macbeth, but it's not fair. Any thoughts
James
on that before we move on?
James was what, at least 2 or 3 over on hole 18. So, I mean, obviously it came into play where hole 18 made him nervous throughout the whole weekend, realistically. And I don't know, the aggregate playoff, it's kind of tough because, one of them could shank something right or left on hole 1 and then end up taking a 5. The other takes a 3. And I don't know. I don't know if I love the idea of an aggregate playoff. I feel like I wish we saw it more because what have we seen it one other time this year where it actually came into play?
Even. Yeah, I don't remember which event off the top of my head.
Was it Des Moines?
I just don't remember.
I forget off the top of my head. DDO. Gotcha.
That's our green room talking to us.
I was going to say, wasn't Missy in that?
Hold on.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm curious.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I thought it was Missy at Des Moines, but maybe it's Missy at DDO. Well, obviously it's DDO because she just told us it, but...
Okay, we're going to check your audio real quick, Missy. It's coming through, but it sounds a little distorted, but we'll check that in just a second. Yeah, it's got like a distorted, almost like if you had like a low battery sound on something, it's kind of coming through like that. I don't know if you can just check something there. I don't know what you can check. I hate doing this stuff live, but if there's anything, and it's possible if you're using are you using a phone? If possible, you could probably just go straight to using your phone, even without headphones, and it might work well. You can give it a try. If possible, you can drop out and come back in and give that a go, because it's probably not the audio we're going to want to hear. Nobody else is hearing it right now. Okay, that's better. That is better. Can you hear us? Okay, perfect. Okay, well, without further ado, we'll recap a lot more of that, how come this event might be considered the best event of the season. But to this point, we still got 2 more big events, but we're going to get back to that. We're going to get to our pop drop lock pick, see how that unfolded. Ben, decent week. We'll talk about it, but not good enough. Okay, here we go. Let's get right into the Missy Gannon interview. I'm doing this all by myself. Let's go. Ever since Ben moved out of studio, I'm like trying to lead and push buttons, and here we are. But Missy, we can hear you, but let me double check before you say anything that I have you unmuted. Bang, I think we're good. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Perfect. And your audio is crisp, so anyone who hears you now is like, what are you talking about, Matt? Perfect. Big money Missy, I think you even might have mentioned it in your post-round interview in front of the gallery there. You sprinkled them throughout the season. This is a big one. Is this the biggest of the season? How do you feel?
I mean, I think that it definitely is top 2. I think my first major win has to have that top spot.
Sure.
Also because the strength of field was similar, if not, I mean, a larger number of women at U.S. Women. So, yeah, U.S. Women's takes the top spot, but I think Mabel Hill probably takes the second.
Cool. When it comes to, we're just going to jump all over this. When it comes to the gallery or galleries, I mean, Maple Hill is interesting this year. Tell us what you saw and experienced as far as like people all over the property. Like, did it feel different than years past? Had some vibes, same, but what did you see that was new or different, or how did the gallery play out for you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because it's like a slightly smaller venue, but I don't think so. I think it felt like there were so many people there. And I think I even reposted somebody's post about, my final putt. And just, that's when I really noticed how many people were lined up behind us, our personal gallery. And then obviously all the people that are in the stands right by hole 18. That was when I really noticed how many people were tuned in and there live. And I certainly could feel it when I putted out. And I mean, the whole round really, especially on hole 17, hearing the roar of the crowd that was just following us was wild. And I think even I compared it to GMC the week before. That kind of felt like a ghost town, to be honest. There were still a ton of people there, and the local gallery and people that came out there are always really amazing, but it just felt different at MVP. And like I said, I don't know if it's because it was just kind of a more intimate setting, but I think that the numbers were really, really strong. And it was cool to be able to perform in front of all those people and then ultimately take it down as well.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that opinion. I would be interested in the numbers myself. Being there, actually, I had a similar feeling. I felt like this was more well attended than previous years. But that's gonna lend us to a little bit of maybe later in the interview question about like player experience too, because parking was a thing, and that's possible. It's probably maybe why others were there. I don't know. But let's go to, so I talked about galleries, hole 14, for instance, right? It's becoming the new, maybe, I'm not dissing hole 8 because I actually like Zach Benson and that crew over there. But we were joking, maybe hole 14 will become the suit and tie, respectful clap group or something. But like, did you notice the bleacher seating spread throughout the whole venue? Is that like hole 18, for instance? What did you think about having bleachers around a lot of these greens?
I think it was great. I think it adds so much for the player experience, seeing those stands filled, but also for the spectator experience. It's nice to be able to see hole 18 from an elevated perspective. And I feel like you would have that a little bit with people on the deck at the sap house and stuff like that, but that's kind of reserved for certain people. And I think it gave a really professional vibe. And I mean, for anybody that's ever been to like a traditional golf event, there are a lot of those holes that people just will sit there all day because it's the best viewing experience. You may only be able to see one hole, but you can see all of your favorite pros come through no matter what card they're on. So to have several spots like that, you think of like hole 11 up top where you can see hole 11, you can see part of hole 12, you could see the tee shot on hole 13, you could see the putts out on hole 10. That's a really cool spot. And also, yeah, to have 14 and 8 be so close together and you kind of have that island hole feel, even though 14's, not technically an island. Yeah, I certainly think that the 8 holes started it, and then it sort of just became something that they wanted to spread out throughout the course. And I think that's just really cool to come down to those holes knowing that there's a little bit of extra pressure, there's a lot more people watching, and now it's not just hole 8, now it is hole 14, it is up top on the hill, and obviously hole 18, that's a scary hole for seemingly both divisions. And it's just awesome to have the ability to see all of the spectators congregating around those holes.
Yeah, and hole 18, this was the first year they brought in, I should be careful. This is the first year they brought in this large of bleacher seating. This was expanded. Hundreds of people probably could fit there. And to your point, it's everywhere. I think it's just going to keep expanding. And I think it's the future of disc golf for a bunch of private venues where they could do this, to have the pick your spot, stake it out, and just stay there. I was at hole 18's approach to the green like every day. I caught you there a few times after your round. So speaking of, you mentioned the 8 holes started it. I feel like every year that the 8 holes have been a thing, we've asked these questions in our interviews, and every player that I've talked to on a microphone and off a microphone has a little bit different opinion. And so it's really going to be, I don't know if dealer's choice is the right word here, but player's choice on how they feel. You taking this down, it doesn't seem that they messed you up enough. So like, how does it feel to you? There's 2 parts here. One, when you get to the hole, how does that play out for you? Do you enjoy it? And then 2, as you're playing around the course, it's been brought up this week on social media, on other forums, that, well, it's the sound as they're playing throughout the whole course, hearing those roars, that messes them up. And I don't like that feeling. But you're a player. So tell us from your perspective.
Yeah, I think people are just, I'm going to sound a little harsh, but I think that people are just making excuses, to be honest. Again, I'm going to reference traditional golf. Noise is going to happen, and you kind of have to just, what does it matter if it's, a gallery following Simon's card, because he has a gallery no matter what card he's on, cheering for his shots versus, a one hole of people that stay there all day. It's just part of the game, in my opinion, and I think that it's more just something that we have to get used to, and we want to have spectators out there, so we want them to enjoy themselves. We want them to have a great fan experience, and I think that it's maybe toned down over the years. I feel like, yeah, maybe last year they were kind of told to keep it to maybe just, the card that you're cheering for, try to keep it chill in between or whatever. I don't know. But I think it's cool. I think it's amazing to be like, oh, I wonder what happened over there. Yeah, I would never say that it's ever messed me up. Obviously there's a little bit of extra pressure when you're putting out on hole 8, especially if you've made the island, you've done the first part, right? And then you feel like you have to make the putt. So I don't know. I think that it's a really good thing, and I think that we should encourage the ability to have more spectators, especially on, again, one of our most adored wooded courses on tour. We can't start complaining about spectators, because as we see time and time again, we're moving over to more open courses to make sure that we have room for spectators. Well, look, Maple Hill has figured out some way. Yes, parking, all the things, those things are still, they're figuring that out, whatever. I think it worked out. I think it all ran pretty smoothly. I never had a problem with the shuttles. I warmed up at the practice field that they provided. I had a great experience. But we need to be careful if we start complaining about spectators and how loud they are on courses that we don't ever want to see go away, especially wooded courses like Maple Hill. So just for those people that might be complaining about that stuff, those players who might be complaining about this stuff, just remember that we don't want to put these courses in jeopardy because of something that I think is more of an excuse than anything else.
Should we just take that whole last 5 minutes of what Missy just said, cut it, and post it everywhere on social media? Because I don't think there was a wrong thing that you said in that whole little spiel. It was awesome. It was great.
Cool. Yeah.
And this doesn't necessarily have to do with the interview with you, but there is a line that is crossed, right? If I'm playing devil's advocate, and I would assume you would agree with this. There was a video that popped up in social media, and I forget who posted it, but Nicolas Antela is putting from the drop zone, and you have to believe this older gentleman is intoxicated, probably. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, at hole 8, and literally walks up to the drop zone as Nicolas is getting ready to putt and like grabs his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that video?
I did.
So like there's a line to be crossed, right? But to your point, it's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's more of that seemed to be more of like a security issue. I think than a, I think that we have to more think about, okay, if we need to have the players escorted up to the drop zone or whatever, or just somebody assigned to those holes to make sure that everyone's kind of keeping in line, and being as appropriate as possible. And I mean, if it comes down to kicking people out that maybe have gotten a little bit too rowdy, I mean, that happens at other events as well. Not, outside of disc golf at other sporting events. So yeah, I think that's more of a security issue. And yes, obviously the more spectators we have, we're growing. And we've seen issues with spectator numbers in the past throughout the year. And, it's always sad when you don't see a lot of people come out to the event. So again, I think it's like just kind of thinking about that security, those security issues ahead of time, and and trying to learn and figure it out as we go. But I think that's pretty much
cool.
All I can say about that.
Cool. No, that's great. Good perspective you have there.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, and you were a part of the tour when this was happening. I think it was like Sarah Hokum and a few others really in the FPO were really pushing for fair FPO layouts, like design us layouts on tour that make sense for us. I feel like we've come so far in the tour over the years to a place where the FPO course at Maple Hill, we call it FPO, it's Diamonds is what it's referred to locally, but how do you feel about that layout? You played it well. Do you feel like it's just right? Do you feel like some of the holes you're like, I wish it was different? Like, how do you feel in general about the layout?
It's funny because, obviously I consider it, and many of us consider it a wooded course, as most of it is. But I do think that it forces you, I mean, even myself, I had to throw a couple of forehands every round, either out of necessity or out of my own game plan. So I think that it provides a lot of everything, every aspect of the game. And I think that's why it's lasted so long on the tour. Other than the history part, I think that it challenges everybody. I think again, you ask all of the top pros who have played there many, many times over the years. They love Maple Hill. And I think because it provides so much variety, and it doesn't just favor one style of golf. Yes, you need to be proficient in the woods, but also you think of the holes that we're getting more distance off the tee is going to give you an advantage. Think of hole 11. You think of hole 10. Not many birdies. We didn't see very many birdies, but we did see the Evelinas and the Ellas and Kristen and Holland and the maybe the farther throwers be able to get all the way up the hill to the castle. So I think that it's a really good challenge all around. And I think, I don't necessarily think it's like an FPO course. I think that it doesn't dumb down the game for us. It keeps it challenging. It makes you have to focus on every shot, and it doesn't suit any one particular style of game.
I couldn't agree more. Now, to be clear, you would whoop me, and just about probably every single FPO player would. I am not good at disc golf. I'm joking. Who am I joking, Nick? Was I ever good at disc golf? But anyways, I still consider, even at my skill level, FPO to be one of the best layouts of all time. Like, it just feels like everything you just said. Awesome. One more question for you before I throw it over to Josh is, you won the tour points standings here closing out at the final playoff event. Did you think that was going to happen? I don't know off the top of my head. Was a win required for you to get this? Did you know going in what you had to do to get the number one spot?
All that I knew was that it was really close, and I don't really like to dive into the like all of the numbers before, because I just don't want to even think about that even as a thing. In the grand scheme, yes, I'm really proud of myself for being number one in the standings. But again, that wasn't as important to me as winning the event. So I think what I knew, so Holland is a lot more into the numbers. I think she was a lot more in tune with what needed to happen, because I think afterwards she said, man, I just needed to get fourth and I would have still taken the points. So based on what she has said, and I didn't fact check her, but it sounds like she still could have taken the points lead if she had gotten fourth or better, even if I had won. So I guess it was so
she's
close
accurate. She is accurate.
Yeah.
I just checked it out right now. She would have gotten, she got 90 points with a 6th place finish. She would have gotten 103.5. So that's 13.5 points. And that would have pushed her just past you by like 5 points. So yeah, it's really close.
Yeah. So I knew it was super close. I knew that the people on my mind were just, Kristen, Owen, and Holland. I think that we were the only ones that really had a chance to make anything, any kind of movement at the top. But yeah, I didn't really want to think about it. I just wanted to play well. I've always played pretty well at Maple Hill. I just have had like 1 or 2 rounds that have been terrible. And so I was glad that I finally kind of put it all together.
Okay, last one from me is when the tailgating area off hole 18, I think Holland made it over there before you, and we were talking, eating good food, and I said, Missy, because she got an all-star captain spot, right? And you as well. And I said, Missy's going to come. This is what she does. She brings the heat to these press conferences. I said, what are you going to do? And she looked at me and she's like, oh my goodness, you're right. I have to figure out what to do. So they started recalling some of what you've done. The cane, when it was with Own, you'd walk into the cane, right, and you take off a jacket and you have some smack talk or something. I don't know if she's prepared for that, but you and Holland are the all-star captains going into 2025. Is that a fun thing, a proud thing? How do you feel about all-stars and being a captain? Again.
Yeah, it's super cool. What's really funny about that is that I think that must have been why, right as I got there to that area after I was done, she said, so what are we going to do next year?
Okay.
Should we coordinate and do like a bit so that we're both on board? And I'm thinking, you're scared. You're nervous. You don't know what I'm going to do. So I told her probably not. I got to just do what I do, and you got to take it.
I might be spilling the beans, but I think this is appropriate and fair. She's like, Paige, you're going to have to let me know what Missy's going to do. And Paige said, nope, I'm not telling you anything. So it's going to be a good time. And I hope that this is kind of what All Stars is. It's fun and competition combined. Congratulations on that. Josh, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, congrats, Missy. I was able to take in 2 of the rounds in person out there this year. It's always incredible to see. So just a few more specific things. So starting this round, assuming I have it right here, the final round, you were 3 strokes back. I just think the fans, want to hear, what is your mindset going in to a final round at Maple Hill, 3 strokes back of Kristen Tatar? We know how it played out, but I want to know, like, when you're standing there on hole 1T, are you just one hole at a time, or is there some bigger picture? Like, what's your mindset?
What's funny is that each day, and I think about day one, I don't know that I've putted so bad in the last 3 or 4 events in my entire career. And round 1, I was 50% C1, and I shot 4 down, and I was in the lead. Tied with 2 others, but still, I think that right there just showed me that, okay, 4 down is not my limit, like that. And I knew that, but but just the fact that I had so many opportunities to shoot such spectacular rounds every day. I mean, my putting was not 100% any day. And I had so many opportunities at each of the 3 rounds prior to round 4. I think instead of being discouraged by that, I took that as more of a, hey, look, I'm getting myself opportunities. I'm throwing the disc like a freaking master out here. I know that I can shoot hot, and it just comes down to putting the disc in the basket. And that's just one thing that I was struggling with all the whole time. And again, like we said, we don't like to think about what could have been, but I should have won this event by like 8 strokes. I mean, I don't care how cocky or arrogant that sounds. It's fact. I mean, I just could not put the disc in the basket, but I was giving myself C1 looks all over the place. So I think, again, I took that as a confidence booster instead of a, woe is me type thing. I was just like, all right, I can do it. And let's just try to make it today. And as I showed, I mean, I obviously still made mistakes in that final round, but I was 100% C1. And I just turned it around. I did what I needed to do. I made up those strokes really quickly, and then we both kind of started going back and forth in the back 9. And so yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, other than I just knew that I hadn't shot what I could out there just yet, and I just needed to do it. It sounds weird, but I knew I could do it, and I just needed to make it happen, and that's what I did.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, that's why I asked the question. We are always just curious. What are the players thinking? Because, as fans, we play it out through our lens. We're like, what would we be thinking, right, when we're watching it? And we're either like stressed or relaxed or confident. And so it's really great to hear your perspective. So I want to actually zoom out a little bit. This is a much broader question. So it's not specifically about this weekend. And so intentionally, just to kind of, again, understand how you're thinking and approaching this. What keeps you motivated? So you can talk about an event, but I'm even talking long-term, season to season. Like, you've been on tour for a while now, you're racking up wins, you're having good seasons. Just like, I'm curious your mindset. What's keeping Missy Gannon motivated on tour?
I am both insanely stubborn and insanely competitive. Okay. Now, you'll ask every professional disc golfer, and they're all going to say, I'm so competitive. We all are. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't. But I am really competitive, to the point where I can't even play like competitive board games. I've said this before in other interviews, but I can barely get through a competitive board game with people that I really, really like, my friends, without feeling like I want to, like, if there's anything like luck based involved, rolling dice, man, like that stuff, I'm just like, it drives me nuts sometimes. But I'm really, I think that those two things together make me the way that I am, and I think that they're a recipe for being able to stay strong an entire season and never give up. And I've just on a different level, I am so aware of how fortunate I am to be able to do what I do, and all the decisions that I've made up until this point that led me to this career path, that have gotten me so many things that I'm so grateful for. Um, I don't take that lightly. I don't come from a lot growing up, and I think that I really appreciate all the little things that I have achieved, and that I've been, just so fortunate to be able to accept. And I think that that's, again, all of those things together keep me motivated, keep me loving what I do, and it could always be worse. And I think, again, that's even why, even on the course, being able to stay positive, it's like, a missed putt's not gonna it's not gonna kill me. There's so many other things that could go wrong in just life in general, that a missed putt is not a big deal. And so I think having that mindset is always going to keep you kind of fresh and not burnt out quickly. And yeah, anyway, yeah, I'm rambling now, but all of those things have really helped me get through these long and exhausting seasons.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually take that as in a segue here. So compared to anybody else with a win on tour in FPO this year, you have the most tournament starts at 21. And if you add up all the strokes in tournament play, you literally are about 500 to 1,000 more total strokes. If you just add up the way that's all accumulated. You talked about exhausting. Is body wear and tear a consideration for you at all? Is this something that you're aware of and thinking about how to balance that? Or are you just grinding out the most tournaments and the most throws?
I am aware of that. I think that it mostly comes into play during my practice rounds. I kind of have, like Tom and I have kind of like enforced like a baseball pitcher, like a throw count. If I start just wanting to unleash my entire bag on one hole, when in reality I'm probably only going to throw, I'm only going to throw one disc. Like there's, not that many options that I have to throw on one single hole.
Yeah.
I have to remember that, and just because it's fun to throw all these shots doesn't mean I should be doing that. And so, keeping an eye on that, making sure that that's, I'm not just like throwing my arm out before the event. If it's a quick turnaround, I think I only played one practice round at MVP, but I also played in the Pro-Am event that happened on Tuesday before the event. So I kind of got like 2 practice rounds in, but one was a fun event with another person, and kind of a cool competitive thing too. So maybe that was helpful as well. But yeah, just being aware of that. And I do try to make sure I prioritize, getting body work done, like massages and things like that whenever I can. I also have, like the whole compression system for recovery and warm up. So yeah, I try to do a lot of things on the side. It's not just all about throwing, especially when it's courses that I do know and that I've played many times before. I don't necessarily have to like just be practicing multiple times a day, all of those things, which I know a lot of people are able to do, and they do just fine. But yeah, I'm just pretty conscious of making the most out of my practice rounds, and then really focusing on my recovery.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go get those compression suits and take all that so serious here as well, but that's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just last thing. So we're transitioning to Throw Pink Disc Golf Championship, an event you've won before. We've talked to you about it before. Obviously, it's an awesome accomplishment when you look at the field, but we've talked about it's not a major. It's also not a pro tour officially, right? Any of these things. Just curious, has your sentiment changed around that at all? And like, does any of that affect the way you approach the event? Or 3 minutes ago, you said you're insanely competitive and no matter what, you're going out there and trying to win?
Yeah, no, I think that I think the prestige is still there. Obviously, the Throw Pink event has, was one of my biggest wins that I've ever had. No matter what the designation was, I think that again, there's like rumblings of that becoming the major for the women in the future. So just keeping that in mind, to just, take it seriously. It's still a 4-round event. It still means a lot. I think sponsors still think of it as kind of on a major level for the FPO side. At least I know Discraft does. And it's still really cool. I mean, they treat it just as well as the USDGC, in my opinion. We get our ring, we get a ceremony beforehand, and on all of those things. So it's really cool to now be a part of that whole thing, and also be a part of now the history of the USDGC. So yeah, it's still really important. I think that again, being the first ever throw pink women's disc golf champion is really cool, and it would be amazing to win again. I love that venue. It kind of has that stadium style, which I also felt similarly to the European Disc Golf Festival over in Estonia. Had a very similar stadium style vibe. And so, yeah, I think that they hold, that was a really cool event that felt so different for the style of venue and all of that. And every event I'm trying to win. I'm not there to take 5th place, even though it felt like that the last couple of weeks. But it's every event's important, and just to finish the season out strong as well. We have Throw Pink, and then we'll have the Pro Tour Championship. So we've made it this far. We got to keep pushing, and 2 more events. Give it your all.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, again, congrats on your 5th win, at least major and elites of this season. Really strong season. I'm sure we on this show will talk about that a little bit more, but thank you for your time. Matt, I don't know I think we're done. We've probably overkept Missy here, but thank you for sharing.
I talk a lot, I know.
No, it's not you, Missy. It's us and our intrigue with how you're performing out there. Congratulations again. It was great seeing you in person as always. We will catch up with you, and I think we'll talk about it. But if you somehow win out, I think there's a real hard decision to be made. We're gonna have to add up all the numbers for Player of the Year, but you're making a case for it, and cool job for you. And we'll see you out there again, Missy.
Thank you. Yeah, and there's still a lot of A tiers left. So,
all this is true.
Hey,
that's
might stack
true.
them up at the end. Maybe.
That's true. A tiers are actually significant. All
I'm
right.
not signed up yet, but I might. If I
I might if I have to.
Insanely competitive, Missy.
Insanely competitive. All right. We'll talk to you later. I love it. Peace out, Missy.
See you later,
Bye,
Missy.
Bye.
Insanely competitive. That was her. She's like, wait, I'll go get the A tiers if I have to. No mercy. I'll just do it.
It's probably a nice bonus with Player of the Year, so might as well do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, I put her on the spot a little bit there, but she rose to the occasion to be like, hey, yeah, I mean, I won it. So if you look at it, and just literally 30 seconds here, I think Kristen has 7 wins this year. Missy has 5. And if she was able to pull out a Throw Pink, I think it is an A tier, right? Is that how it goes down as an A tier? So, I mean, but if she gets that, the conversation gets really interesting. And I don't know if you can factor in the championship finale as part of Player of the Year talks, because it's a unique non-sanctioned event. But there's a conversation to be had. It'd be fun at the very least. All right. If you're ready, I think we're ready. Let's just look at our Pop Drop Lock review, and then we've got more to talk about. Ben?
Yes.
We heard your voice like 30 minutes ago. We never told everyone you showed up. It's been a busy week, huh?
A very busy week, but it's been a great week.
I said Ben was late, and I'm like, did Gannon stash him in his suitcase? I didn't know
Full-time caddy now.
where you were.
But here he is. Let's get to it.
TSA removed me from the bag.
Pop Drop Lock. We aren't making any picks tonight, but we're going to reveal the points from how we performed, as well as thanks to Hooligan Discs. It says TX in their logo, out of Texas.
Correct. Rockwall.
If you're in the
His
radio
addresses.
controlled world, there's TX and RX. One is transmitter, one's receiver, but we're talking disc golf. All right. So we made our picks for MVP Open, And we don't need to recap them all, but if there's one that stands out to you for why you did what you did or how you performed the way you did with your picks, would like to hear it. And as always, you can play along. There's really only one more pick remaining. We don't think we're doing the championship finale. We don't have a good way to do that. It's not sanctioned. It's not normal. So we're probably going to end it with our next picks, which will be next week for the USDGC. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting at the bottom with the points here. We're going to pull up Evan Kearns -6. This may be one of his worst. This may be
It's
one
your
of his
fault.
worst.
It is your fault, technically, Matt.
Well, yes. Well, it's his fault for choosing that he wants to take the people that I'm popping for his
But dude,
drops.
he was
But
taking
you
me
had
first.
great
I don't
pop
even
picks,
understand why
so
he
his
changed
drops got absolutely shredded.
All right. So that's true. When Evan does bad, I probably did good. It could go that way. All right. Next up, I believe, Josh, tell me where we're going. I think it's Josh. Yeah, I think it's Josh. Here we go.
Yeah,
I'm always trying to recall.
I had a
7
bad
points,
week.
Josh. 7 points.
I had a
Awesome.
bad week. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Bad, but we
I mean,
talked about it. This point in the season, any
No,
points
well, here's
are
what's
good
crazy.
points.
Like I had no big swings. Literally, my highest score was 7, and my lowest score was -4, and I finished with 7 points. That tells you, like, I almost broke even across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it is what it is. Like, my locks gave
Any
me 5
surprising?
points.
Any
My
surprising
pops gave
picks?
me -1, and my losses gave me 3.
So nothing really surprising, just pretty.
No, it's just like I didn't get any big pick. I mean, something like Eagle McMahon gets me 0, right? So, like, I'm missing opportunities, but nope. Just
All right.
apparently I know how to pick the average.
7 points. So -6 for Evan, 7 for Josh. We're going to Nick next. 30. You more than tripled,
30.
Josh. What player did it for you? Do you remember?
Well,
What
I
players?
asked Paul, I said, are you going to pop
Yeah.
off this week? And he said, absolutely.
I
Pick me
should've
for the
picked
pop. And I said, all right. And then
pop.
he says, well, also pick me for the lock. And I was like, I can't pick you for the lock because I only got you one time left. And that's my USDGC pick. So I picked him for a pop. He got me a good amount of points. I think
This
it
is like
is
insider
25.
trading. He's literally
Yeah.
asking Paul,
Yeah.
how are you going to do?
I was like, how are you feeling this week? Like, I'm going to
Massaging
be on the
his
bag on
shoulders.
Friday or Thursday. I was like, do you feel good about this? He's like, yeah, I feel good. So
That's fun. I forget who. Okay, so we'll get to it in a second. We're going to jump over to Ben. That's right. I had the most points, but Ben, you had 38 points. Who did it for you? Do you remember?
I think
little bit of
Luke
everybody?
Humphreys.
Luke Humphreys.
Luke Humphreys
No,
driving?
Luke Humphreys gave him 25 points of his
Okay.
38.
Luke Humphreys.
Sorry, Luke, for
Back to
his
back.
underperforming. Yeah.
Luke's got
And-
Ben
and-
like
and he
70
had
points
Kristen.
over the last 2 weeks or something like that.
And he picked Kristen to try to win, but close.
It didn't matter because Matt also picked Kristen, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird strategy, and I don't know how I'm going into the last week picking against Ben with the lead that he has. I think it's going to be in the hundreds, but we'll see. Pulling up my points next. 81 points.
you almost won it.
Almost
Yeah,
won
fifth
what?
place.
Oh,
The
I
whole
know.
thing.
I got fifth.
You were
fifth
fifth
place.
place.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's my best finish.
Only
I'll have to
30
go back.
Only 13 points off, dude. That's a very, very stellar week.
And
And there were no triple digit scores. Like sometimes we've seen
Yeah.
121 points, 100 points,
oh,
whatever.
right, total, yeah.
Yeah, total.
So for me, I'll say the downside was Simon as my lock. Just not. I'm sorry, Simon, but and
Yeah,
maybe it's just is what it is. But so 0 points for Simon. So if I could have pulled out a lock pick somehow, maybe I would have won the whole thing. But 81 points. Josh, if you do quick math on the fly, am I still like 100 behind Ben?
114.
Yeah.
That's very quick math.
So I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to
I'm
come
really
in
quick.
strong. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
because you only
Raven
gained like
Newsom.
43 points this week or something. So 114, but it is doable. Although with the way our averages work,
Yeah.
the point spread gets tighter and tighter every week.
Yeah.
It's harder to find that big pop or drop.
Um,
But Ben apparently has the strategy.
strat.
You know, he's got it.
I'm trying to get the dub this.
So-
What do I get? Do I get a trophy? Like what? Come on.
we'll
figure
figure
it
You get something
out.
from Hooligan Disc.
So, so here's what I will say. Raven Newsom, fun story. You were talking to Paul, Nick. You got that, privilege all the time. But they come through town now for this event. I talked to Raven and I said, Raven, like I picked you for my fantasy pick. Like, how are you gonna do? And he's like, good news for you. He goes, I always play good here. And I'm like, I know you do. Let's go. And so he did. He literally did. He got me almost 40 points. So that's above his average for some reason. But he said, Matt, you got to talk to me earlier in the season. Like, I was injured. And it's like interesting when you start finding out these inside things. You got to figure out when they get better. They're not publicizing. When they get better, that's when you pick them to pop. So he says he's feeling good. He did it. That's where I got a lot of my points from.
Almost cracked the top 10.
Yeah, he did.
He's right there at 11th place.
He was in like 6th or 7th at one point, but yeah.
He had an awesome event last year at this one. He had the sick putt that hit the flagpole and somehow dropped in on hole 15 last year. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, but yeah, he pops off. It's a good tournament to be an MVP player and to pop off at. Especially, I think what he did the best out of all the MVP players. So good on him.
Absolutely. So this is a fun game. Again, thanks to Hooligan. So just real quick, just to be clear, are we jumping into MVP talk here? Or are we going somewhere else? How are we navigating
I think we're
this?
going to MVP talk, unless you're asking about something specific.
Okay.
We're not done talking about that tournament.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go into MVP talk. Let's jump out of here. To be clear, you don't have to submit your pop drop lock picks until next week, pre-USDGC. And I will say it now, unless there's something that I'm totally missing. There, for the FPO picks, we'll use Throw Pink. So 2 separate events. I think that's fair, and I think that's how we should. Anybody think there's any reason not to do that? Right? It makes sense. It works.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Same amount of rounds, everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we can just make it easy and clean. The FPO picks will be Throw Pink, and USDGC will be for your MPO picks. Okay. Without further ado, let's push it over to Josh. Let's walk through some of these MVP open topics, and let's go.
Yeah, look here. I mean, first of all, I want to actually come back a little bit and finish the James Proctor talk, and then we'll transition to a range of topics. We think it's the best event of the year. I already mentioned, of course, we have some bias, so you can argue with us in the chat if you want, but I actually think there's some real validity to that. But James Proctor, I just want to mention this. Here's how he finished his placement in each of the rounds. 12th place, 6th place, 4th place, and then he finished in first. So, or I may have missed one there, but like talk about just kind of a gentle like creep up the leaderboard.
Gentle rise.
Yeah, which is why I actually think, I mean, everybody knew he was in it, but you didn't hear a lot of like talk about it, right? He just kind of floated up the leaderboard, and then the way Gannon and Ricky kind of fell down, and then obviously the Paul narrative right there at the end. But just wanted to mention that because we brought Missy in and didn't really finish that coverage on James, but incredible win for him at a big event. Again, kind of feels unique. We call it a playoff event, which we always talk about. That feels weird to call it a playoff event, but regardless, it's one of the more prestigious events because of its history. And so again, congrats to James. So we've got like a sorted list of topics, and I want us to fly through some of these. Look, and guys, some of these are longer topics we can probably discuss, and some are just like get reactions. So all 3 of you are there. Just give some reaction to the uniqueness of this event compared to other events. What's something that's unique that stands out to you? And any one of you, just speak up, like comparing it to other tour events that are out there. Why are you like, no, this one's unique?
I talked about it with Missy, and I'll keep it short. It's the galleries around each basket. It's not there is a roaming gallery, but there's also uniquely this year galleries forming at each green and at the tee pads. I think that is very different. I've been to a lot of events. This is outstanding beyond the rest. And I also think it elevates the game in a different way. So I think that's unique.
Yeah. Nick, Ben, would you add something different than that?
Yeah. Well,
or the same?
Different, but also related. I think it's like every hole is incredible. But that's not what I was gonna say. But every hole is incredible. But I love the fact that everything's just so close to each other. Like you can be on hole 8 and then go to 14 so quickly. It's literally a walk, and then even go to hole 5, 4, everything. And the other cool part is like when Matty O ace 14, all of Maple Hill heard it. If you're on the property, you heard it. So then everyone gets talking. Oh, what just happened? What just happened? I mean, I remember we were playing at Pyramids with me, Gannon, Ezra, Cole, and Luke, and Casey White won the CTP, and people are freaking out. We think someone just aced the CTP thing, and we're on the other side of the street, super far away. So I think that's one of the cooler parts is that you can hear everything, and that every single hole you can catch multiple of your pros within like like a football field walk.
Yeah, I mean, like hearing, so I understand, and actually this will go into one of the topics a little bit about the 8 holes when we talk about how loud they are, does it interrupt play, etc. But let me just say, aside from that particular debate for the moment, there is something in the air, literally right through the sound waves, right, Ben? But that there's an aura when you're on the property, you just hear like the roar, and it is a roar. It's like a roar and a rumble of like the course and like fans all over the place. It's just it's really pretty unique. Nick, would you add anything? We've got other topics to cover too, but anything stands out that makes it unique to you, or do you agree?
I mean, the liveliness of it, I would say. Like, everyone just seems to be in a good mood. There's something to do every single evening at that event, whether it's with pros or without pros. They also have these incredible opportunities like the CTP throw-off, where Casey and Elizra won $5,000 a piece, and there was a huge spectator showing. The VIP areas are pretty sweet just walking by. So I think those are my big things. Obviously the crowds, I think part of it is being from Massachusetts, being, a former Maple Hill person. I know a lot of people that are out there. So it's really cool to see friends. It's really cool to see a lot of my friends working the event, volunteering their time to be out there. And, just the 8 holes going over to 14 after the league cards are done, and just I don't know. Like I said, just the smiles on everyone's face. It seems like it doesn't go away.
One last one, Josh. I had the pleasure of running into Doug Bjerkes again. I knew he was going to be there. I saw him earlier this year at Junior Worlds. He said, "Matt, I'm going to the MVP Open Maple Hill," and he said, "For my first time ever, can you believe it?" The executive director of the PDGA had his first time at the Maple Hill for the MVP Open. And his words to me was that this had a real, and he used the kind of word festival vibe to it. And he's been a part of running the biggest events in disc golf ever. And this was a unique feeling to him that he doesn't see at other tournaments. If you've never been, it's super unique to the festival vibe. Intimate, small, private venue, packed. It DJs playing music through. It's really awesome. So Josh, thanks for asking that question.
Yeah. I think really quick, just kind of my last part of the answer, but as someone who now helps run events at Olympus and the kickoff of the 2024 season, what will be the 2025 season next year, I came away from MVP thinking, how do I make the place feel like that? I'm already thinking in my head, like, I got to talk to Paul about it. It's like, what is our hole that creates the 8 holes? What is our perfect position to have a crowd like that just want to hang out around one singular basket until the lead card gets through? And it's just great. It's really cool to be at an event that so much time and effort has been to. And once again, just being from the area, it makes me miss the area a lot, like a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to add just one thing, which is on top of what Ben mentioned, which was perfect, is the course layout really for fans. Steve Dodge and the team there has worked hard to do that. They changed kind of a nostalgic hole 7, which I think some people would steer away from ever making a change like that. But I'm telling you as a spectator, which is part of what we're talking about, that we're talking about uniqueness of the event, totally changed the dynamic. I was there with my kids on some of the days, and we could literally just walk from hole 1 down to right where hole 6 is, and then walk along hole 7, and then we see hole 8. And by the way, when I'm saying all this isn't like a long walk on a disc golf course. And then I see hole 14, and then we decide, oh, this is great. Let's just walk back up to like hole 1, and it's just like easy. And then you can cut across, and then you see hole 18's green right there. Now, of course, other courses have some layouts that like vibe like that, but I'm just saying it's unique.
Not a lot.
So just really cool.
Not a lot. I've had the privilege of being to quite a few events, and even like Idlewild, for instance, one of the smaller courses on tour, you don't have a lot of that same. It's not the same. So I think it is unique. Good question. Yeah. Good topic.
All right. So by the way, you all know I'm details guy. I'm keeping time, and we're on pace for our topics here. So we're good, but I'm going to move us on if we start going too long. All right, Nick, you mentioned 8 holes, and it seems like a segue. Let's talk specifically about 8 holes, because the debate is it too much? Is it too unprofessional? Does it disrupt the players? How does it make our sport look, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? There probably are differing opinions, and maybe we should just replay Missy's response because it was great. But just out of our crew here, just like quickly, give your 30-second reaction. Love it, hate it, tweak it. The 8 holes.
I'll start
Nick.
it. Absolutely love it. The one thing that I could slowly kind of do without is the running green flags across the green. That's literally my only kind of like, and I don't know why I think that, but just for some reason I don't love it.
I think the same, and I'll tell you why you think it.
Yeah, all right. And well, so really quick, the
Yeah, go
final thing, we talked about the Nicholas incident earlier with the guy grabbing him. I don't know the actual facts to it. I did hear that it was a guy who was chaperoning a group of kids that were at the course.
Boy Scout troop leader.
Yeah,
He might be someone
thought
who
it was
like
one of his kids.
Yes.
I
so
think
Matt, this is my
that's
take.
the case. Yeah.
He
And
doesn't
Matt
know
said
disc golf.
That's why-
intoxicated, and you actually, if you watch the video shortly
sorry.
after, you see, but then keep watching. You see one of the Boy Scout kids come running around the tree after it, and that's definitely like,
Oh my goodness!
I
wow,
think that was the
perspective
case.
is huge. Perspective is
Yes.
huge because that was the way it looked with a rowdy 8 holes makes it seem like the guy's.
I think he was not rowdy. I think he was clear cut, trying to watch his kids and didn't understand that Nicholas was coming up to there right in the moment.
Yes, I
which is
can see
unfortunate.
that, but to Missy's point, it's still a security issue.
Oh,
that
so-
we
it's
have
still a
a scout
problem.
leader
100%.
in a weird place, like trying to
Still a
grab
problem.
somebody on the tee pad. Yes.
They're
a
100%.
Okay,
you know,
cool.
right next
That's
to
a
that
good
big tree.
perspective.
Right next to that big tree, there should be a staff person. The second that the players are walking from the tee pad up to, let's say, the drop zone, that person should be there. Hey, make a way, make a way, make a way, and make sure that no one's within
And they
5 to
should
10
just
feet of
raise
the tee pad.
ropes. They should have ropes on the
distance
ground
is.
and lift the ropes up for the drop
Yes.
zone, so that place is just crystal
Exactly.
clear, no questions asked.
So, anywho,
All right, so that was, by the way, that was another
one.
one of our topics. So we're chipping them off. But 8 holes, Nick, did we cut you off? Anything else?
No,
on
no,
8
no.
holes?
I love them.
Matt, Ben, I mean, you don't have to add to that, but you want to add to it? 8 holes?
I'll go after Matt.
Ben belongs in the 8 holes. I think that's like where Ben belongs, but he's just doing too many things. His hands in too many pots. But like, so he'll be able to respond to it. I was able to talk to a few players. Josh, you were there for this conversation. I'll leave their names empty for now because it doesn't really matter who it is. But I gave each of them an opportunity in a conversation to say, hey, why they like or don't like it. And one of their responses was just generally, they felt like to them it was annoying. Not that it was bad for the sport, not that it should mess anybody up. The same thing that Missy said, where like the lead cards do that already with their galleries, cheering throughout the whole course. So there's really no difference there. But to them, it was annoying. And I actually saw their perspective for a second where it's like the extra things that they did, where it was like, number 9, sign the board. They have all these chants that they do. Now it's fun, but to an individual that's not their thing, it can come off as annoying individually. So there's 2 different conversations. Do the individual players like that experience? I for instance, I hate picking on Silva, but she comes off as a more reserved personality. I would imagine something like that just is not her vibe, right? When they're cheering for her and all that. And she has to figure out how to process it, but it doesn't mean she likes it. The same thing goes for a lot of players, I think. So if you take the question to like just 8 holes in general for the sport, I think it's fantastic. And I think you're going to see more when I say fantastic, I don't mean get rowdy, go crazy, take your shirts off, run around kind of rowdy. I just mean the feeling of staking out a hole, being excited about the event. It takes it to another level. So in that sense, I like it. I think players sometimes for their own personality or opinions may or may not like it. Ben.
Yeah, I think I really like the 8 holes for this reason. I mean, we see it in golf. Hole 16, waste management. Everyone, that event is literally only defined, in my opinion, by that hole. That's all I see whenever it comes around. That's all I hear about. People throwing beer cups when they go, when they do hole in one and stuff like that. If we had a hole 8 at every other event, like the 8 holes, where there's a rowdy group, then that gets a little ridiculous. But I think that's kind of the charm behind it. I think it's cool for maybe 1 or 2 events to have this 8-hole thing, and I think it's just great for the sport in general. I mean, we talk about growing the sport, and I think and we talk about fans. I mean, hole 7 was moved for the fans, so the fans could spectate on the road, and they could put more fans. I think hole 8 brings a lot of fans, and it's very enjoyable, and that's what makes part of the reason why so many people show up. I've met people from all over, like Alaska. I met a dude from Alaska, is because they want to be a part of that, because they see it all over social media and the 8 holes, and they're like, oh, this is awesome. So I think it's really cool. I think 2 years ago they definitely stepped out of line a few times whether they're on the green, but I think through the players kind of talking through them, I think they were definitely way more respectful this year, and respectful in the sense to, like, you know, players where they weren't screaming every other second randomly, and they weren't on the green and the flag bearers just did they ran across and just did one thing. It wasn't like a whole dance party like how it was like 2 years ago. So I think they definitely took the criticism to heart, and I think they're doing it a lot better now, and I think it's really, really cool.
Okay.
I personally enjoy it.
I want to call out the chat. We always have Westy Akers in the chat for years, and I'm giving him a little bit of time here with his comment. I want us to react to it. It's more about the fans wanting to be a part of the action, which isn't the purpose. Let it be about the players. This came up in social media this week too, so you're not alone, Westy Akers. But I'm gonna debate that. What in the world tells us that they want to be part of the action? What is it that's telling us that's the case? Because I talked to them and they said that absolutely is not the case. Now that's from their perspective. Now hold on, you go to a Bills game, you go to a Patriots game, you go to a Celtics game, and everyone's face painted. They're taking their shirts off. The snow's coming down. They're screaming, going wild. They're throwing snowballs. They're not wanting to be a part of the action. They're excited fans, and the cameras turn to them to put them on TV. They're not asking to be on TV. It's a residual part of the excitement. That's my take. You may or may not like it, but I know from a fact, talking to them, that's not the purpose of what they're trying to accomplish. They're just being extremely passionate fans. Any other responses to that? The idea that that's what it's about?
Part of what I think Wesley was talking about is him and I have been chatting in the chat back and forth, and we're more so talking about the moving flags. So that could be kind of what he's talking about is, you know, every single time there's a shot that's in bounds and they run across, it kind of like puts them in the spotlight rather than the great shot that just happened. Now, I'm not saying that's how I take it in the sense of like, I just don't like it. I don't think it, I think it's a little tacky. And so that might be what he's kind of talking about where he says.
But to who is it taking the spotlight from? Because here's my point. The gallery of, if the cameras are showing that, then that's on the cameras, because the cameras can cut away after a shot hits the ground and parks it, right? They go to the player to see the reaction. They don't have to show the flags running around. This is camera work 101. You show what you want to show. They're not running when the disc hits the ground. So like if the cameras are like, if the producer goes, hey, show these guys running back and forth. My point is they aren't being like, hey, put us on camera. They're excited, passionate fans.
Well, I think it's more so, I like when a player, let's say Calvin Heiberg throws a shot.
Yep.
It takes however many seconds to get there. And then the second that the disc lands inbounds, let's say it's, 7 feet from the basket or even 20 feet from the basket, those two cameras are going to where that disc landed. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to zoom in on that disc, like slowly. But the whole time that it's slowly zooming in, even this shot, whatever, when it lands, they've already started running. So you see it every single time, regardless. Like, every single time a person throws and bounds on that hole, you see the flag runners. It could be cinema 101 to where, or videography 101 to where maybe that's something that they learn for next year. But at the same time, like as a viewer, I would rather, like, let's say I'm watching it live. I don't want to see the player's reaction when they threw it to 7 feet, but I do want to see like them slowly panning on the disc, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like my simple feeling is I would prefer that they stay off the playing area. But beyond that, I just want to be clear, if you haven't been there, and some of these people online may have, but like, I think these people are just having fun. And here's a good way to gauge it. When you take your kid out there, your kid, okay, they're not thinking like, how do I make this about me? What's my ego? Okay, there's a kid who just smiles because this is the most fun they've had on a disc golf course. I'm not saying that's your only test. That's not the only test, but just don't forget that that is a factor. These are people literally just having fun, and there needs to be some limits. Like, I get all of that. I already just said I'd prefer them to stay off the actual playing area. But beyond that, like, there's no genuine weirdness going on. I didn't see like one person who's trying to actually throw things off. And comments about pace of play, etc., I think it's barely impacted, if at all.
Yeah.
If you're not there, you're thinking wrong. You're thinking the green flags are slowing it down. I'm there. They're teeing off just as fast as they do on any single hole. When they're walking up, they're teeing off when they're ready. Like, it's everything. And by the way, the players love it. Now, anytime you say something like that, it's like, well, there's an exception. Of course there is. Every statement has an exception. But the players collectively love the experience.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thank you. I can.
We're going to move on, but let's finish. Go.
But yeah, here's what I recommend. I think the coolest thing would be have one spotter, and I know those guys who are the flag bearers. They listen to the show. Bill, yeah, there you go, Bill.
Yeah, we got him in the chat.
So I was literally about to shout him out, and I just see him in the chat. I think it would be really cool if if it was just one of them, like either him or his sons, and then the 8 holes just have all have a red and green paper.
They have flags.
Off of,
yeah.
off, or just like a sign off of, so like Bill or his sons wave the flag, and then obviously if it's obvious, but then all the 8 holes can be like, and that can be a spectacle. It's quick, it's easy, and then obviously you need one legitimate spotter to actually give the official call. But I think that would be,
and to be clear,
cool,
it's not actually
and not
an
as
official
much
call,
running
though.
across.
To be clear, they don't even have an official
well,
call anyways.
yeah, I understand, but if you're in the crowd, put it on green, and like you don't know, you're not on the line.
My last thing.
You can also.
My last thing
go
on
ahead.
this is I was saying camera 101, if they don't want to show the flags, this is my point. It's if the producer doesn't want that to be the vibe. My point was these people are not doing it to try to be on camera and be the focus.
I get that.
That's not why they're doing it. I'm saying if it is on TV and it's bothering you, my opinion is the producer actually is wanting it to be on TV. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the producer. They're literally going, let's show the vibe of hole 8. Look at the excitement. That's my point. It's not the people trying to steal the show. That's all.
But if the producer wants it, that doesn't always make it like that's not what everyone wants to see.
That's
and
correct.
I'll finish it with this. I'll finish it with this in the sense of like, look at any other sporting event, and you usually would not see a volunteer, spectator, most of the time even staff members running across the playing field, whether it be golf, basketball, baseball, any of these things.
Savannah Bananas, are you kidding me?
What's that?
The
Savannah Bananas, is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Nice. All right, there's the one sport. But do you get what I'm saying though? Like in basketball, if someone hits a 3-pointer, Jason Tatum's son isn't running across the court. Or, the dude who's mopping up after someone falls to clean up the sweat really quick. The only time he comes out when it's absolutely necessary. And so that's kind of my take on it. But at the same time, if it happens for the next 20 years, believe me, it's not going to deter me at all from watching this event and enjoying it to the best of my abilities.
Yep. All right. We can debate it. Keep debating it in the chat. Bring it in the comments.
And
we
thanks,
know there are
Bill.
varying opinions.
Bill, you're just doing what you've given the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I actually love the fact we're debating it. I think everybody seems supportive. And yeah, well, we shared some constructive criticism. So if you missed it, Bill.
Well, here's my
rewind the
suggestion: 8 holes, get a red and green and red sheets of papers, and hold them up. I think that, and then you see a sea of green and red. Boom! Yeah. Oh,
It's
actually,
awesome.
Maybe not red. Red would probably be.
I'm just going to
great,
finish with this
but
again.
just
It's
green.
fun. It's fun. I want everybody out there to know, like, it is fun. All right. Totally other different topic. Like, we had 2 aces on the weekend. Matty Oram on 14 and Paige Pierce not on camera, as far as I know, on hole 15. This does not require 8 minutes of debate like the 8 holes, but just any general reactions. Did any of you see hole 14's ace in person?
Not in person, no.
Okay.
I was
But we
nearby
know we
enough
heard the
to
cheers.
hear. Yeah, and
Actually-
I talked Cole Riddall in this morning. Shout out Cole. Great job coming back after an injury, 12th place. He stayed at my house and we were able to talk this morning before he left. He said, man, and he just brought this up kind of out of the blue. Matty O's ace did not get enough attention. That's all he said. And I know it went up, but it was like kind of forgot, one and done. And it was
Really?
big. I think, to be honest, the camera work, they got it on camera, and that's huge. Everyone would complain if they didn't. But the camera view from behind on that shot with, I think it was Thomas Gilbert's cell
I
phone,
think Thomas did, yeah.
was actually like better in the sense of, I think, perspective wise. And it kind of gave you, but long story short, that was massive. I don't think it got enough credit or use, runtime, if you will. It's going to get brought up again another day, but that was big.
I thought I saw it
Huge.
once or twice today. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's a dream ace. It's a dream ace at Maple Hill.
Wait, does someone else on the show have an
Yes.
ace there?
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Nick
I
aced
actually
it.
aced this
Nick,
week.
how does it feel?
Oh,
No,
frick,
No,
I
we're
was
talking
gonna
about
say
we're
I
talking
aced.
about we're talking about 14 gold, Ben.
Oh,
You
okay,
aced
I was gonna
14
say
gold?
I aced
I've
this week too.
aced 8 gold and 14 gold.
That's
Nick.
sick.
All right.
Yeah.
My God,
I did.
That's awesome.
The ace on hole 8 was in front of Sexton and Paul, which was pretty sweet. My first ever, I think, legitimate round with them. And then my ace on hole 14 was just with some casual buddies who I didn't really know if they play the sport anymore. But
just imagine Mattio's ace, but Nick doing it. That's what it was.
That was back when they had mock X baskets though, so those things caught everything.
Yeah. All right, we're going to keep moving because we debated 8 holes for a long time, but also just want to say hole 15 is a pretty sweet ace too.
Well, yes, we skipped over Ben, but yes, Ben did get an ace this week, and he did it in front of probably a dream ace because the crew he had with him. You had Gannon, you had Ezra, you had Gavin. Gavin was with me, but you had Justin Rozak, if I'm not mistaken. You had behind
Cole
you
Dolan and Luke Taylor,
and then even behind you, I know they're probably incognito, but I think Paul Ulibarri was there, and who else? Behind you a hole.
AB.
Yeah.
How'd you know that?
Ben, I don't know. I can't tell you how.
I knew that too, so.
Wait, that's so weird. Yeah. So it was here's all the witnesses. Steve Broad, Brad, Yuli Caddy, Yuli, AB, Luke Taylor, Ezra Robinson, Gannon, Cole.
How do I know that, Ben? Ben, you need some sleep. You told me, dude. You told
okay.
me.
That's also how I knew it.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
How do you know?
Josh, how many aces did you say happened at Maple?
I think
3 or
2.
4?
I just manually scrolled.
3.
Yeah, 3.
Okay, then what's the third?
Mason Marchbanks.
Hole 2.
Oh, okay,
round
awesome. That
2.
is
Got hole 2,
Yeah,
which
hole
is
2.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think
that's
sick.
awesome. I mean, like it's
slight
rarely ever
uphill the
getting
whole
it high
time, dude.
enough, right?
That's a sick shot.
The height is the hardest part of that one, obviously. But all right, different topic. Just quick course reactions to course changes and the fact that they had alternate pins. Just like any reactions to anybody.
I keep speaking for the players because I was able to hang out with them.
You're the Lorax, bro.
I was hanging out with them this week, and so I'm trying to speak for them because my opinion's not as powerful as theirs. Most of them liked it a lot. They liked it a lot. In fact, some of them thought hole 1 was almost better as is. Dude, it's nice to change it up.
It's interesting dynamic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think the way it was introduced and the way that they did it with 2 holes for only the first 2 days, pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah. I loved all the changes, even like the round changes with hole 1 going from the short or the long, hole 9 going from the short or the long. And then I thought hole 7 was a great change. Everyone's kind of harping on hole 6. I actually, talking to a lot of pros and seeing a lot of pros throw that hole, I actually felt like it technically made the hole a little bit easier. I didn't see any putts go OB, even with the elevated basket and it being pushed closer to the OB. Now, I did not watch everyone's putts.
Final round, Gannon had a putt, hit the basket, and hop over the stone wall and go OB.
Really?
So it might have been in it if it didn't.
Gotcha. Okay, so it did happen. I did not see that, but
I mean, I thought
it was a good change.
I mean, he missed the putt. He hit the edge of the basket, but still.
He parked it the day prior, 2 days prior to that. So I mean,
most people
put it within
didn't
4 feet.
Yeah, most people were not bothered by that. They said just hit your putt. Most people just said hit your putt.
Yeah, exactly.
Hole 9, to be clear, I know Ben, I mean, Nick, you had some thoughts on hole 9. When I say I love the change that there were alternate pin positions for the first 2 days, I mean that just generically. I think that's a great idea. Hole 9, I talked to Gage Benson. I don't know if he's in here tonight. He's the course manager. He got to design in large part, if not fully. I'm not sure the exact story there.
Dude, we always shout out
I think he
Gage.
said start to finish.
Okay,
Sensei.
so hole 9 was extended to the first ever par 5. In general, that's a cool idea. Maple's never had a par 5. Gage was pretty clear with me. I talked to him during the final round. We were walking. I caught up with him just randomly. And he said it was playing a little harder than a par 5. It was like a 5-6 maybe the first day, and then like a 5-3 the second day. Would we have seen the trend down over the 3 or 4 days? Probably. People were figuring it out or being more aggressive, knowing where they stood. But to his point, and I'm putting words in his mouth, but he said these words to me, like year 1, it's okay if it plays harder because it allows you to figure out like what needs to happen. And now they know kind of where it stands. So.
Yeah, I actually, so we were talking to Gage actually during the first round, and Paul had birdied it during the rainy round, and he was like, "What are Paul's thoughts on it?" And Paul might have talked to him about it too. I forget, but I think the par 5 position is really, really cool. I was able to talk to Steve Dodge and Gage a little bit about the par 4 position, but honestly, after I didn't get to see it play live in person from the par 4 position. I was watching coverage of it, but a lot of where pros are throwing that second shot, it's not going over the wall, but they have a really fun 35, 40 footer kind of over the wall to the par 4 position basket. And I actually thought it was really cool. I know they said that some work that they're going to try to get done is cleaning up that landing zone down there, probably just adding a little bit more drainage, maybe some fill dirt in some certain areas. So I think as time goes on in the next year or two, we're going to see some even better changes to that hole. But all in all, I actually really liked it. I think the only hole in the course that I don't really care for, honestly, is the castle hole, hole 10. I think it's kind of boring.
What?
I love the castle. I love the castle.
Sure, it looks cool, but you're saying the
It
way
looks
it
cool.
plays.
The shot itself, it seems like a very boring shot to me. Yeah,
I think
anyways,
it
that's my
kind of
take.
is boring. There's a little bit, if you're there in person, you realize the actual extent of that elevation change, and like it's an impressive shot. But you're right, there's not much like variety. It's like throw it as hard as you can, mostly straight. If you're strong enough, let it hyzer into the top of the castle, and maybe you end up left in the woods and have to, chip up.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's a few of those on Maple Hill, like even hole 17, you could make a similar but different kind of debate. It's like, like out of all the intensity of all these holes coming down, and then 17's in the mix, but we actually saw just a tiny bit of separation and drama still, even then, right? So anyway, we could, we kind of have to move on, but I feel like I'm cutting someone off. So spit it out if you got something else.
You're cutting me off, man. Come on,
go.
No, I was just gonna say, Gage already talked about like maybe making it a little more equal next year or whatever. I thought the new par 5 pin position was really cool. The only thing I didn't really like about it is like Ricky, like if you're at the top of the mountain, you have nothing. Every pro is just jump putting down. It feels like just like kind of like a wasted, throw. It's like, okay, like that's cool. That's the only thing where Ricky's like literally on the hill, but the so many trees. So I think if maybe carved like maybe a lane from the hill you can go for and get aggressive if you wanted to, I think that would be cool.
I 100% agree with you, Ben. It's not fun on a par 5 when you're kind of watching the second shot. They threw a great drive, and their second shot is a 140-foot downhill jump putt that, it's kind of like another hole that I don't particularly love is I don't love 4. I like it, but I'm not really in love with it. I think for the same thing, you see so many people like Gannon has this incredible skill of being able to just really get the putter out of his hand, and he's literally able to jump putt that hole. Ezra Robinson was just doing this little spin putt on it. I think that's an incredible shot to have. I applaud them for it. The hole in and of itself, I think, is a little bit too rinky-dink for a pro tour event. But that's just my take on it.
And shout out to Gage Benson. It's like Batman. I say the name and here he pops into the chat. He says, much love, everyone. Yeah, Gage, I put words in your mouth there because I was able to talk to you. But I think for a first year, the pin changes are awesome. And I think you only have going up as an option. And I hope you were here to hear that, Gage. Sometimes he comments and runs.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's like you hear the worst of what we're saying. It's like, no, we actually praised you 5 minutes prior.
Bro, good job.
He hears it. All right. What about something that's not allowing us to dissect the course or the venue? Just the event itself. Players down the leaderboard that surprised us. I'm intentionally picking on one in particular. Simon Lizotte. I mean, he had a post today.
My lock pick.
Yeah, but I mean, so not asking anybody to like pick on anybody because that's rough. But even Calvin Heimberg with a 28th finish, Niklas with a 25th, and I'm not saying these are bad, but these are some of our top rated players. Matty O winning last year, coming in 20th, and again, those are not bombs, but Simon in 63rd, and even in FPO like Evelina coming in 9th, which is still a great finish, but she's one of our top contenders in the sport at the moment. Just any raw reactions to that, or is it just like, no, it is what it is? Sometimes people don't pop off. Obviously, Simon, this is kind of his home course at this point.
Yeah. I think the beautifulness of these playoff events / the East Coast swing is players over the year, I think, forget how to really hit gaps. The World Championships had New London, which was a wooded course, but it was kind of a bigger wooded course in the sense like the fairways were pretty significant out there. Brewster Ridge and Maple Hill have very, very tight holes on the property, and it was really fun to watch top pros struggle with hitting that 375, 400-foot hole, flip up fairway driver for them. and just not hitting it the correct way. So I think for players who are incredible at open courses, which Simon's great at everything, don't get me wrong. He's won at Maple Hill. He's also won at open courses before. But it was really fun to kind of see that happen. And I think it's just something, we play so many big courses out in the tour nowadays. These courses will have events where you get players like Simon who are going to be down the leaderboard. You get players like Calvin, Nicholas, who has won Pro Tour events this year, who are down the leaderboard. And I think that's what makes these events great. And Maple Hill has always been known as an event where there's very, very few repeated winners, like multiple time winners. There's only a few of them, I think, for the MPO side. And it's awesome to see new winners kind of year in and year out.
Here's the players for me. You asked down the leaderboard. I'm going to give you a list. Joey Buckets, 44th. A little surprising to me. Eagle McMahon.
That's very surprising.
Maybe not surprising with this season, but 52nd, still surprising. It's an event he's always played well. Chris Clemens, typically pretty good in the woods in this course. Simon Lizotte. And then I'm going to go down quite a ways here, and you may not be as surprised by this pick, but it is my pick that, I don't know if I'd say most surprising, but Ben Calloway. And the reason why is he plays Maple Hill so good typically. And I think last year was he a top 10? I'd have to look it up. A really good player usually at Maple Hill, and he took 73rd place, only about 5 spots out of last. Something was not right for him. So those are my picks for surprise.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's just move a little bit more. We're almost done here. So just simply put, there's been a little bit of commentary online. And I think given the fact we've dissected this more than any tournament we've dissected all year, we probably have an answer. But is this the tournament of the year? And I don't mean like annually. I mean this specific iteration. 2024 tournament, both MPO, FPO literally came down to the last hole. Feel like tournament of the year?
Yeah.
Maybe we're just putting an exclamation point on our opinions, but yeah.
I think this was the most memorable tournament so far. Granted, it's only 2 days old, or a day old realistically, but it had so much excitement to it. All 4 rounds had excitement. The winners coming down to literally hole 18, a drop zone putt to win, throw no B shots for the loss, things like that. It's what makes disc golf awesome. And then that crowd on hole 18, especially on the MPO side, when literally everyone is there, is absolute insanity. I think it's one of the coolest crowds. Now, I know everyone will say like the European Disc Golf Festival did incredible things. They did. It was awesome. But this tournament, stateside, they do it right over at MVP.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome. All right, we're gonna wrap, but before we officially wrap, I'm gonna say we even had other topics we could talk about, but we're not. There still always tends to be the fun debate over these volunteers pay to volunteer at this event, and the answer is yes, and they do an incredible job,
and they love it.
It's awesome to see it. A little bit of discussion around parking is always a challenge there. They continue to try to evolve. They had shuttles. You heard Missy say it worked out great, but I know they still want to find ways to give more warm-up area and better parking. And by the way, Steve Dodge and crew, if you ever come to this event, understand it does not end as soon as they tap out on hole 18. There is stuff happening here all the time. Literally free ice cream socials, different activities, events, glow rounds, and the list goes on. And so anyway, just wanted to kind of drop all those and say, clearly we're biased. We acknowledge that, but hopefully you enjoy our enthusiasm about this event.
Yeah.
And truly travel out to it one day. Check it out.
When Steve Dodge yells to the pond, it's such a cool moment. You get a stampede of people who just surround it. And whether it used to be the AM side of the event and now the pro side of the event, it's just everyone goes to it. Players can only dream of jumping in that pond, to be honest. As disgusting it is, players can only dream of jumping in the pond on hole 1 at Maple Hill after winning that tournament. And playoff event means a fat payday for Big Money Missy and James Proctor.
Yeah. Yeah, that puts Missy just only like $3,000 behind Kristen for total winnings this year. So
not bad.
Awesome.
Not too bad.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, if we think of something else about MVP before we wrap the show, we're gonna fire it out there today. There's so many things we didn't get to talk about. A few of us were privileged to be in the VIP tailgating section. Just good times all around. We already mentioned barbecue it. Just like lots of good stuff, good memories. I saw Ben talking to Ben. I saw Ben Kinney talking to Ben Askren. And I
Yes.
paparazzi'd it and took a picture and said, Ben, talking to Ben. There's lots of cool stuff out there. So, all right. I know we're moving to a different topic, non-Pro Tour related. We'll come back and recap a few more things. But anything else before we move?
Technically, who won caddy duties this week? Did I win or did Ben win? We'll let the chat talk about it while we do this next interview.
I'm
just kidding, Ben, you won.
Yeah.
Come on now. I trekked all 4 days.
I would have if I was there all 4 days. Anyways, we are going to do something different right now. We're actually going to jump into another interview with Kyle Motti. He is the tour director for the NADGT. We have some exciting news coming about with the NADGT. So Kyle's going to jump on in, kind of give us the lowdown on everything. We're going to ask him some questions, and we're going to go from there. So Matt,
It seems like his video might be frozen, but I can hear audio, so we'll bring him in. If his video is frozen, we can do it that way, or we can decide to drop him in and out. But let's see. Let's go ahead and let's get him in here. Could be just on my side as well. All right. Let's welcome him to the show. Nick, you're up.
right. Kyle, how's it going?
Love music.
Good to finally put a name to the face. We have talked multiple times now over the phone, trying to plan some awesome things happening. And so it's good to finally actually see your face. And realistically, I'm going to jump right in with saying, what do we got going on? I'm going to let you take the floor for a minute and just talk about big news.
I mean, I'm not sure really how much bigger it could get for us. But I'm here with you, my friend Nick Carl, to announce that we're going to be getting together in February, right?
Yeah, end of January, early February, right?
That's right, January,
Yeah, something
February.
like
The NADGT Tour finale is finally being announced, their home venue for this next session, and it's with you at Olympus.
It is. Yeah, we are super excited for it. This has been a conversation that's actually been happening for a good portion of the year, and Kyle and I were finally able to connect on everything, get some dates locked up for it. They've done their side of things. We're always working on our side of things. So yeah, we are absolutely excited about it. Is there anything that you guys have released, or you're going to release a press release? Have you guys done it yet?
It went out, I want to say within the last hour or two. There was some delays based on the weather situations down in the east, which is where our main home base is in that southeast area. And so we did have some delays, but it is out on our website and our feeds that it is now official. We can come out and let more than just you and me and the walls know that we're bringing our talents to West Beach.
To West Beach. Yeah, exactly. You are. So we're super excited for it. I guess we'll kind of jump right in to anyone that actually does want to read the press release. I have kind of a monotone voice, so I'm not going to sit here and read you exactly what happened, but go check out all the NADGT socials and their website. You will actually be able to see the legitimate press release for this. Realistically, though, we're going to jump into a couple questions. First off, how did Olympus come on the radar for the NADGT to want to host a finale there?
Well, we've been in Florida for the last couple of years, and Dave and Paul have known each other for obviously a while. They got talking on the backside, and it seemed right, especially with some of the announcements of the Q Series doing their kind of wrap up there as well. It really kind of lends a little bit more backing to what we're saying is trying to prepare our players for that next level and to make them ready.
Awesome. Now the NADGT is kind of a season long, multiple events that happen for the amateur side of disc golf. How do players qualify for the NADGT finale?
So the finale specifically, you qualify through either our national championships or our premier events, which are a variety throughout the country, or our legacy events, which are kind of a little bit more locally based within each state, giving more players a chance to get there if they don't have a chance to get to nationals or the premiers.
Perfect. So for anyone that played those events and did well at them, be on the lookout for, I would say, invites to the finale. What can players... Go ahead.
No, 100%. Our premier event winners have already been let know about their invites. Our national championships winners will be let known about their invites the beginning of November when they compete at nationals.
Very cool.
And the legacy event winners are known as they get their invites as well.
Awesome. What can players look forward to at the finale rather than other NADGT events that they may have attended throughout the year?
For sure. This is the spot. This is the chance that everybody wants to get to, where we are highlighting our top players through the tour to get that chance that they've been looking for. The big money and the DGPT tour card for next season, and all the opportunities that come with that.
Perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up if you didn't. But players at this event are competing for the winners, I'm assuming, in the MPO and the FPO division, because that's technically the finale. They're amateur players that are potentially going to cash at this event. So they're technically playing MPO and FPO so that if they want to, they can accept cash. But then also the winners of the event are granted tour access, 2025 tour pass going into that season, which I think is absolutely incredible. Sorry, my phone kind of went away for a second. So you mentioned in the press release, not everyone's read it yet, but talk about just some players who have kind of come out of the NADGT who are potentially on the road right now in the Pro Tour.
So on the ladies' side of it, I mean, how can we not acknowledge that Big Money Missy came through and went through even before there was an FPO division or even a female division? She actually qualified at one of my events here in Colorado.
Gotcha.
It was probably the windiest event that I've ever been part of, and I think one of the windiest YouTube videos that everybody has seen. But I remember seeing Missy at that event. Other ladies, Candace and Ellie Ezra, who have both been making their presence known on podium spots and in the top 10 and in the clash line all year. On the guys' side of things, last year's winner, Gorman Milchesty, he's been out there so much this year. He was in that opportunity where he could be out there, and other players that have come through that are notable, or biggest notable name is Kyle Klein.
Yeah. Major winners. We have major winners in the Pro Tour scene now that have kind of risen up through the ranks in the, especially now the NADGT. I guess kind of my next question going on with that is, from these players, like, what made you and your team really want to get into elevating the amateur side of disc golf?
I mean, first and foremost, it's the need. As we all kind of look at things, we know that there's a slight division between local top-rated AMs and touring cashing pros, and all that in between. And there are top amateurs that need to know that they're good and that they can go out and on any given day compete with these guys on tour. And half the time, they just need to be given the opportunity to let themselves shine.
And kind of one of the things that makes people feel very pressured in events is potential camera coverage, especially at larger, whether it's an amateur event. A tiers have camera coverage, sometimes B tiers do. And then obviously Pro Tours, majors, everything like that. Do we see any coverage happening at your event, or will we see any coverage happening at the finale?
So as we've evolved over the years, we've gone through a variety of different levels of coverage. We've worked with Jomez, we've worked with Gatekeeper. And as we've developed, it's kind of become a new thing each year. And what we've realized is we can put out a better product that people want to see doing highlights with post-production than we can in trying to get people to tune in during the off season with names that they might not be familiar with.
Nope, that totally makes sense. And then kind of lastly, what I have on my side is, you're talking about the championships are happening. Now, the championships and the finale are different. So the championships are happening in November, and I think you said Austin, Texas. Is that correct? Yes. So Austin, Texas in November, we have the championships. And then we have the finale in January/February happening in Brooksville, Florida. Talk to me a little bit really quick just about the differences, what players can expect at each event versus, at the championship. I'm assuming they're not accepting cash. They're still playing for, let's say, funny money. But talk to us a little bit about the differences that are happening at the championship versus the finale.
So it's a great question. And it's one that has come up with a lot of players because over the years, as we've developed, things have changed. And some of those answers were different last year than they were this year. But basically, the finale is for our MPO and FPO players, and that's it. That it's the cream of the crop. We have set the stage. We are bringing them to Olympus and having them take that next step into their professional career. Our national championships is where everything started. But when we grew to the 1,000+ player field that we were having, we started losing the focus of the players that we were trying to highlight and the divisions we were trying to highlight. So with our national championships, that is literally for everybody who's in our tour. MA1, FA1, MA2, MA3, the ladies, and the age protected divisions on both sides. But they don't have their finale, so that's where the championships is. Our age protected divisions are still having the opportunity to play for cash this year if they want to keep their amateur status intact. That's why we have it as a B tier, so that they can decline the cash and keep that status in check. And all of our true amateur non-age protected, they are a PJ A tier, where the top finishers in the advanced and some of the intermediate divisions will be earning their invites to join us in February, early January, out there in Florida.
Very cool. I guess kind of bouncing off that a little bit, talking about players that people may not know of. And crew, if you can help me out with this, what is Jake Mon's is it Ben Mon?
Ryan
Mon. For some reason, just name completely gone from me for a second. But Ryan Mon has absolutely obliterated the amateur side of disc golf this year. Is that someone we potentially see here in Brooksville, Florida?
I mean, I'll bring up the reg page again to see if anything has changed. But I am 96.3% sure that Ryan is registered.
So funny enough. So
is ready to compete.
Very cool. For people who are listening and maybe in the Florida side of things, the month of February in Florida is absolutely insane. So end of January, early February, obviously we were having the NADGT finale here in Brooksville, Florida. The weekend after that, I'm pretty sure, is the Tallahassee Open, which has about $10,000 to $15,000 added cash into it. Massive A tier. Right after that, I forget the name of the tournament, but there's another A tier happening. And then I think a massive B tier, the Gulf Coast Charity Open. And then we have the Florida Open, which is back here at Olympus. And so for Jake, Ryan, a bunch of players who are off seasoning, I highly recommend coming down to Florida. There's about to be just an insanely fun off season down here, and then really, really good kickoff to the actual pro season. So we're super excited for it. Kyle, is there anything that I kind of missed kind of going through? I know we're not talking about the press release in the sense we're not doing it word by word, but is there anything I missed that you would like to talk about?
I don't think so. We are super excited to be coming down to Olympus and sharing this not only with you, but more importantly, sharing Olympus with all of our players. I was there. I have history with the course. I was there in the early 2000s, and having a reason to come back this year and next year for this event is really kind of special for me. It'll be a fun, awkward, different homecoming.
Very cool. So once again, everybody in the chat and everyone listening post audio production, check out all the NADGT socials. Check out their website, everything like that. That will give you more information on this. To any amateurs that are potentially listening, hopefully you qualified for this event. We'd love to see you down here at Olympus. And Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show. If there's anything that is, just has to be talked about coming up with this event, we'll definitely have you back on the show.
100%. And if you guys don't have a qualifier in your area and want one, please hit us up at nadgt.com.
Boom. There you go. Kyle, once again, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
You have a wonderful night.
Appreciate you.
Peace. Awesome. Funny enough about amateur, Josh, we're going to run it right back to you in a minute, but this is a shameless plug for when we ran the chess.com Elite Series event back in February. The whole year we've been actually at the same time planning our massive A tier for amateurs. Excuse me. And that is happening the dates of, I say we've been planning it the whole year and I always forget the dates, but 25, 26, 27 of October. That is our amateur A tier down here at Olympus. We're actually probably, I think we are doing 2 different courses for it. So we're super excited about that. Check out Disc Golf Scene. You'll be able to find it there. We're going to have a huge announcement for it probably in the next week. Once, I think tomorrow is October. Am I right about that?
It is October 1st. We made it.
What?
Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Nick
dude?
Carl's
We only have-
cousin's birthday is in 6 days.
Heck yeah. There we go.
Nice.
Ben knows more about my cousin than I do sometimes.
Let's go.
Anyways, Josh, back to you.
Yeah, or to all of us, anybody can speak up. I just thought I'm going to come back to a couple other points to segue back. So MVP, the final event before the Pro Tour Championship. It's a playoff event awarding extra points. I will tell you that the feeling on the ground was somewhat palpable for players worrying and pushing for points. I think people are really aware. And obviously on the very top of the you heard Missy more worried about winning the event than the points, but that is not true for everybody. And so just to mention, Ellie-Ezra Midling missed the Tour Championship by less than 1 point.
What?
Ouch.
I thought she had it too.
Yeah, I mean,
It had to do with
Cadence Burge beat her.
Is that one of those things
Thank you.
where like Stacy Kiefer had to place this amount and someone else had to place this
Cadence
amount
Burge.
so that Ellie-Ezra could do this?
Cadence Burge outperformed. I guess that was part of it. So.
By the way, I'm also curious. Ellie-Ezra had a over 1,000 rated round in which she also had a quadruple bogey.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Like that's
It could have been like a
that's
1040 rated round.
I saw it happen right in front of me, like because I was on hole 18. So sorry for Ellie-Ezra. Obviously, congrats to like Hannah Wynn and others who just made the cut. So and we could review lots of names there, but that's exciting. It's a different dynamic. That's we kind of always wanted to see something like that play out this way. And so that's the top 20 for FPO and MPO. The line's a little bit deeper at 32, and there were some really close battles there too. And you saw somebody like Luke Humphreys drop out, and believe me, below the 32nd position there's lots of names, tour names that you would recognize, and so it is highly competitive. I mean, literally past world champs, past pro tour winners, kind of perennial names who just aren't making the cut. And then you have other names, somebody like Luke Taylor, who are not as well known, but they're making it because if you look at it at the events that matter, right, really majors and playoff events, kind of popping off and accruing those points and making the cut. And so, yeah, we'll talk more about the championship as it gets near, but just kind of wanted to mention that line is now solidified. You can go out to the Pro Tour page and see if your favorite player made it or not. But kind of a secondary storyline to the Maple Hill event itself, but really kind of part of the same storyline because where it falls in the calendar. So just thought we'd mention that.
Yeah, I got to go off topic really quick. And Matt, can you throw the fire thing around me really quick? Because I just got breaking news.
Is this another shameless plug?
I mean, yeah, sort of, kind of.
All right.
But so the winner of our amateur A tier that we are hosting is now going to get an invite to the tour finale for the NADGT event in late January, early February. Kyle just approved it with me.
Cool.
So that is going to be one of the things that the MA1 winner and the FA1 winner will get a chance to play at that one. And I might have just overspoke saying there's 2 spots. I don't know, Kyle, if you're still listening, maybe tell me that again. But anyways, that's how I took it. So
Nick's trying to get everybody to come down to Olympus. See how
Absolutely.
it is. As if we all need a reason to come down to Florida to play disc golf. But
what's really funny is I actually will not even be there that weekend for our amateur event. Jeff
don't
Corns is
come if
running
you're
it.
wanting to meet Nick then.
Yeah, do not come if you want to meet me. Don't specifically come down here if you ever want to meet me. I hope you want to come down here to play the course. But my brother's actually getting married that weekend, so I will be
congrats
up
to
in
him,
Massachusetts.
obviously.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
Hey, by the way, we're obviously winding down towards the end of the show, and Matt, we're dominating. We're not letting you kind of like run with things here.
It's been a long time coming where I don't have to talk.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I was thinking about it. I was about to say this five minutes ago. Yo, I just want to, Josh, I want to give you your flowers real quick. I mean, you came on I know you're Matt's brothers. You came on the show, and it's been pretty seamless. I mean, I think you've done a great job, kind of being that, like taking that load off of Matt's shoulders of being like kind of like the talking head that kind of presents us with stuff. So you've done a great job, and it's been really cool. And I hope the chat has been enjoying it, because I think at first, the beginning, there's chitter chatter and all that, but I think we really have come into our own this year, figuring out kind of the flow.
For the off season.
I thought you were going to give me my flowers and say you cooked some amazing bacon wrapped chicken.
No.
Oh, I had one of those. They were great. Yeah, right. I would have had like 30 more.
No, it's true.
No, I appreciate that. And actually, Ben, I agree with the whole team kind of acquiescing and figuring out how to adjust with a different style show slightly and different host panel. So thank you for the compliments. I think, obviously coming into an off season, we still have a little bit ahead of us, a major and a championship event. We'll probably think about how we can still do bigger and better things. And I think we're open to feedback. So commenters, not everybody on here always relishes and reads all your comments, but I think we'd actually be curious to say what would help our show continue to kind of be bigger and better. But yeah, thank you for that, Ben.
And anybody who says Matt needs to be taken off, no. The show
Matt literally cannot be taken off. You can kick me off, actually, you can kick Ben off, you can kick Josh off, but actually, like you literally
I've had dreams of just like having my camera off, sitting back here with my legs up on the desk pushing buttons. It sounds nice, but at the same time it kind of was my dream. I was like, oh, Nick, Josh, you guys want to do the show? And we made it happen.
Yes, well, clearly everybody knows. None of us would be on here if we didn't do that, Matt.
That's my point.
Like, but he doesn't need to talk.
That's my point. I think, a lot of people in the past were like, Matt this, Matt that. And then as soon as Josh came on, I haven't seen Matt hate comment of talking too much ever.
I've seen at least one. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like this whole year, I'm saying last year, I'm just saying, I think it was literally just because Matt was like the main host facilitating. And now that we have Josh, they can break it up. So it's been a cool.
It up. It's true.
Dude, try being me and Matt in 2020 and 2021 where it was just us two.
Yeah, dude, two people podcast.
Hey man, tough. I listen to the show regularly.
That's
not
so funny
just
you said
because
that.
I know you guys.
Oh, just like it was hard. And back then, sometimes we'd have guests on for 2 hours. We would have Simon on literally the whole episode. We've had Ulibarri, Jeremy Colling on for over an hour
and
each
now
time.
Simon won't come on the show anymore. He's like, I can't do it, dudes.
It's like, dude, can you give us 5 minutes?
He's like, no.
Just talk about why you played bad or something like that. But yeah, it's funny. It's a really, really, wild world is podcasting in general. Fortunately, with how our staff has kind of grown on the show, is allowing people like Evan to take a day off. People like me, Matt wants Ben, because Ben can produce a show. Josh, if he needs a break. It's really, really nice to be able to still have 3 or 4 people on the show.
Speaking of, I won't be here next week, so I don't know. Ben's going to have to produce something. We'll work on that in the off season.
Next week's technically kind of an off week, right?
It is, but we got to get in. We either have, we got to get our
pre-US DGC though,
Yeah. I mean, regardless, it can be the Ben, Nick, and Evan show. It can be the, whatever. We can do it. Hey. I'll be here. So we have some. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
No. I'm going to actually, because here I am shepherding the show, I'm going to move us to something else briefly and say, we're obviously getting close to winding down here. Great event for us. Obviously, Evan's not here, PDGA staff, and so I had 2 PDGA things. There's lots of discussion around PDGA membership changes. Suffice it to say, you're not going to get that magazine in the mail anymore unless you're willing to pay for it.
Oh.
So
I did not know
change
that.
For you. Yeah, and no membership tag. But yeah, you can still buy membership disc and mini if you want, Ben. You got options.
Wait, does that mean the price is going to be cheaper?
Nope.
No, and that's part of the interesting reaction. But honestly, I'm sure there are varying opinions. It's not cheaper because everything in the world has gone up in price, Ben. So the fact that they're still
it's also only
$50,
$75, so you can play like
Yeah.
this. Like it's literally the cheapest
And
thing
what do
ever
you
if you
do?
really think about it.
Never mind. Some people like the disc, some people like the tag. I'll say, what do you do with it? Like, to me, it doesn't matter. There's mixed opinions, but here's what. They'll let you buy it separately if you really want it.
Yeah. But I don't know about the tag, but you can buy the disc, you can buy the magazine. And hey, here's an example. I wanted to. Well, go ahead if you had something to react to.
I was going to change the topic. Go ahead.
I'm going to just say, here's an example. I want to share something with some people that may not know. Go out to PDGA live scoring. This is just an example. I know, especially when we cut over from UDisc, there was lots of kind of blowback, and maybe they're still missing features you'd like, but they've improved a lot, right? And one of the things not everybody may know. So go out there, either on your phone or on the web, expand a player score, and literally just click on their score on the particular hole. And I don't know if you knew this, but it pulls up an actual map of the hole, and it tells you exactly how they scored on the hole, throw by throw. So I'm just showing you tidbits of things. That's pretty wild. I can literally go and say, how did Paul score on hole 8? How did he get the bogey in the final round? And I can see he threw out of bounds, had a penalty, putted, missed from 9 feet, dropped it in. So I'm just giving you an example. Anyway, PDGA, Evan's not here to represent, but continue to love to see what they're doing. And that doesn't mean I like everything that everybody's doing in every case, but I think it's awesome. And
So,
yeah.
Really quick, speaking of Paul Macbeth, though, Paul Macbeth, Steve Dodge, and Hole 8 at Maple Hill have some sort of weird triangle going on. Years and years ago, Paul made the argument about Hole 8 not being an island technically and was awarded some ruling that worked out in his favor.
Yes.
And then Hole 8
and then he throws
this year, he throws a disc into the wall.
He throws under the
He throws literally like under the wall. It
live.
slides
But
and
over
it's
the
in
water.
bounds. Yeah, but over the water, dude. It like the disc dropped like 15 feet out of the air. It was insane watching it. And then when it landed, he was like, I think that's in bounds. And I was like, shut up, dude. Like, obviously that's out of bounds. We get up there, dude. And like, literally, if you look at it, it was like significantly in bounds technically. And then, you know, people are like, oh, rule of verticality. I'm like, I technically don't even think that's a rule.
No, that's not an actual
But
rule.
you're not surrounded by water, and you were clearly not fully
Past
outside
the line?
the line. Yeah.
I think everybody, like, I don't think it was really a debatable call. I think everybody agreed it's the right
Yeah, they
call.
all
but it's
looked at it
still-
and they were like, yeah.
Right. But it's still a head shaker. You know, like his closest competitors, for example, like a Ricky, it's like the eye roll, like, you give me a break. Like, they're not debating the call, but it's like, give me a break. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, did I really just lose a stroke because of that? Yeah. And then I think Ricky went and nailed the putt
Yes,
from the
he
drop
did. He
zone
nailed
too,
it.
which was great. But and then Paul just throwing another shot in on hole 18. He's done that in the past for twos on that hole. He's won tournaments throwing in a stupidly long putt on that hole. So it was just cool.
I was right there watching it from the sideline.
All right, closing out topic, and by topic I mean just generally I'm going to speak to it and maybe we'll close it out. The Disc Golf Pro Tour has announced that they are standardizing the basket potentially in 2025. Ooh. However, they've what their announcement is, to get there, there's a process, and the process is professional players, probably handpicked. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but professional touring players will be putting on various baskets and seeing how they perform, giving their reviews. They're going to be videoing this for their own reviews to have and to be able to look at. I think they're going to involve, they might have mentioned media, but officials and players are going to provide their review. Also, anybody who wants their basket up for consideration to be the standardized basket needs to submit through the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I forget what the link is. I'm not officially, connected here in partnership with them, so I don't have that. But that's a thing, and I think that will be good for the sport. I really do. I know players are hoping for a specific basket. Each of them are kind of like wishing on their lucky stars, please be this basket. They've all got their favorites. Yeah. But I think that will be good for the sport. We're not here to argue right now, hey, how is everything going to change if it does happen? Let's save that for when we start hearing that it will happen. I think it will all work out. It just makes sense. And then finally, if you were at the event, hole 1 practice area, whatever warm-up area, I know that's a whole nother discussion. It didn't really happen well. It could be a conversation, but there was an interesting basket apparatus there that did not have a middle pole. There was no center pole, and if you're curious,
when I walked over there, I was like, I hadn't heard a thing about it. I was like, what the heck am I looking at? And then I read it
honestly doesn't look good or right to the brain because you're used to disc golf. So, like, I'm just going to be honest. Like, that's when you first see it, you're like, this.
I love how you said that, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't look right or
yeah,
good.
that's what allowed. It's hilarious.
But the praises of how it caught discs was the highest level. So like there's going to be some ground. This is innovation of Steve Dodge and another local. Shout out to Don Booten. Just kind of whipping together an idea. And that's how things become something, is by an idea. So innovating in that way. I would imagine in the future there will be baskets that catch as good as this, whether it's that one or not. It's got a little ways to go, but it's out there and it might be up for consideration for the standardized basket. You never know. They'll say it catches great, but I'm not sure we want it. I don't know, but check it out. I don't, off the top of my head, they didn't pay for an ad spot. I don't remember what the name of the company is, but you can maybe Google it or ask Steve Dodge. Venus, there it is. Venus baskets or something.
They didn't pay for that. What the heck?
Venus something? Venus baskets or something?
I don't. I think it's just Venus. It's not an actual company right now, but
it's
obviously
Steve Dodge's business.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's nothing. It's not like you can go look it up and like buy.
It's a website. It's a website.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah, I checked out the website. There you go. So you can find it.
Thanks for that info. Sick.
It is interesting. Like I said, the players were throwing as hard, almost full drives from 10 feet away, and it was staying in. So it's amazing.
Parker Wilk, shout out Parker. He posted in the chat. He goes, Venus putter chunker. So I did see a.
That's actually funny.
Reading that made me laugh.
They did. There was.
I was going to mute myself.
They did some weird things with it. Like they had, okay, so I talked to one of the designers. Like Steve is a collaboration with Don, who I think Don was mainly the guy building it out.
Really, yeah.
But they talked about like, oh, well, the rules allow for putters or discs to enter through the side cage now and count. Like it is a rule now, it counts. Whether it's wedged or it's through, it counts.
I think he was more so saying, yeah. Sorry,
so what he did is he literally welded the frames on the side of the basket so that discs can fit through cleanly.
They fit through the bottom part perfectly.
Yeah, through the front part. I'm like, no, like that's not the intention of the game. Like you're not supposed to try. But he goes, now you can, so we're gonna make it so you can. And I'm like, interesting. But I heard Paul tried for quite a few tries and couldn't get it through the side, so it's not like easy. But
yeah.
Hey,
anyways,
well, inventors and innovators have to invent and innovate. That's how we get things. But that doesn't mean every invention is
Venus putter
interesting to see.
Shout out Parker. What's a good dude?
Dude, and good playing to Parker. I don't remember his finish, but what was it? What was your finish, Parker?
Yeah, he had a good one.
6th? Was it?
Oh, 7th. Yeah, I mean, I remember like he was up there. I just couldn't remember the exact number. Good job, man.
He was one off the hot round, like round 3. His
he played.
Parker. He said something.
He was on chase card, I'm pretty sure.
Prior to the last round, he said, "Last time I was in this position, I won or something." That was pretty epic. I loved it, Parker.
Matt, our minds are exactly like. So I was about to say that if you don't follow Parker on Instagram, look up Disco because that's his handle. But I actually loved his Instagram post, which was pretty much saying like, last time I was in this position, I won it. Here, I'm going to do my best to do that again. Pretty much, I'm paraphrasing it, but it was kind of one of those things where I was like, damn, that was a good post. And so, top 10 finish though.
As we close out, I will say how do you say this humbly? But Nick, Ben, Josh, we get to experience it. The love in person from listeners who appreciate, enjoy, contribute to what we talk about. When we go to tournaments, I've just realized like our listeners are the people who care about the tournament play because that's what we talk about most often. And when they show up at a tournament and we're at a tournament, we're all enjoying the same thing. And the love that we get to experience in person, the shout outs of I love what you're doing. You make my drive to work so much better. Tuesday mornings, whatever it is, I'm telling you, you're the real ones, and we really appreciate it so much. It means a lot to us.
We love you.
Yeah, met a lot of people. Lance,
Nick,
Amanda.
I'm not going to get everyone's name. Nick,
list. Yeah,
John, Brian. Like we talked to a lot of people. Girls as well.
Top 5 most common boy names in America.
Yeah, John. Alex.
Shout out
Will.
Shout out to the staff and volunteers at Maple Hill. I thought one of the best kind of like heartwarming things to see was everyone wearing a blazer on the final day.
Yep.
Kind of just the Steve Dodge thing. He wears a blazer when he TDs this event. It was really cool to see the MVP Open staff, volunteers, everyone like that, just make that tournament easily, I would say, one of the best tournaments all freaking year. I don't ever want to miss a day of that tournament. So shout out to you guys. You made it really, really fun.
So much stuff. Mike Schwartz holding it down in the scoring sheds. People everywhere.
Yeah, shout out Mike.
Tom doing all the DJing stuff. Zach with the 8 holes. Everything like that. You guys just make it great.
Don't forget Rise Ali, Ryan Dage, the young sun hero.
Yep.
He's always in the shop, but
the things you don't see at the tournament, like we already talked about, Steve Dodge bet his jacket, his suit jacket, on a game of pool ball. Now, if you don't know what pool ball is, I made a post on social media, but it's marble races with pool balls literally on hole 18's green.
Sick.
And we made it to the end of here, but he bet his jacket and he gave it away. He was just wearing a white t-shirt. I said, "What happened to your jacket, Steve?"
That's
the
hilarious.
Final day, everyone came in with a jacket. So that's it, Nick. Tell him
That's
goodbye.
awesome.
Tell him goodbye.
Everybody, thank you so much. I love tournaments like this where we could literally talk MVP Open for 3 hours straight. And who knows, maybe next week we'll jump back into some topics about it. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this wonderful Monday night with the Staggered Stance crew. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tell someone you love them this week. We mean it. We love you guys. Thank you for making the show
Yes,
really,
thank you so
really
much.
fun. We appreciate each and every single one of you that constantly listens week in and week out. Tell someone you love them this week. Catch you guys in the next one.
That's right, everyone. Peace out.